Start transmission. 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting to you live from the Static Clan compound, you are now listening to the Jaysin Static Experience, a podcast from an award-winning nobody, noted raconteur, Renaissance man, a man with a sailor's mouth, but he has never sailed, and who likes to talk about a cornucopia of topics. This podcast is brought to you by www.jaysinstatic.com, a place filled with all your pop culture, antiques, and collectible needs. And now your host, the one and only Jaysin Static. Welcome back, everybody. Jaysin Static with another episode of the Jaysin Static Experience. Today, I got for you guys a treat. Like I always say, every episode of this show is a treat for you people, and I do it because I love you guys. But today, I have a man on a mission to become, well, maybe not to become because he's already second to none, a man who's very accomplished in the world of wrestling, great dude, none other than Dejuan O'Neal, Mr. Second to None. How you doing, brother? Welcome to the show. What's up?
I'm doing very well. First off, thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity to come on and talk to your audience, man. Like these things are always fun.
Oh yeah, and like I told you before we hit that start button, my group is a wild, rowdy bunch, and we talk about all kinds of shit over here, my man. So we can talk about anything from pro wrestling to life to politics to even the little man that you're holding on to right there.
Let's talk about it all, man.
Yeah, I got time, brother.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no, I usually do these things with libations, but the little man has my arms occupied, so you may just get the PG version of me this evening.
Well, like I said, man. I told you a little bit ago, family comes first, man. So hey, if little man wants to debut on the podcast too, he can debut it too.
Hey man, I think he's going to be destined for stardom. He's well ahead of his milestones. Very proud of him.
That's good. How old is he? How old's little man?
He's 2 months old.
2 months. 2 months. Is he walking yet or anything like that?
Not yet. He's trying to crawl already, though.
Trying to crawl? Cool, man. So just let the people know, for anything that I didn't fill in, let the people know who Dejuan is, Mr. Second to None. Just give them a little brief tidbit of who you are and what you do.
Oh man. So my attempt is legit to take over the world of entertainment. I am a wrestler. I am a writer of both songs and poetry. I am an actor. I'm a vlogger. I'm a budding author, motivational speaker. I keep a lot of things like busy because I think the idle hands are the devil's workshop. So I try and stay very, very busy. Mm-hmm. Also a proud father. That was, obviously visible.
Yeah.
And I'm just driven, man, to be on the world stage and to take this art form of pro wrestling or poetry or something to like the world stage, because I'm a very positive person, and I have a mission and a message that I want to put out there to the world, man. Just spread love and positivity. That's me in a nutshell.
My base knows who I am. They know me. I think by the time this show airs, it'll be number 100, 102, 103, one of those two. I don't remember exactly which one it's going to be, but I've done poetry. Hell, even on my YouTube channel for your fan base, I have spoken word poetry stuff on my YouTube channel. I keep a lot of iron. I keep a lot of irons in the fire. Whether it be the podcasting, my full-time job, which is in the restaurant business. I also resell things. Website. I sell shit on my website and whatnot. By the way, www.jaysinstatic.com for all your antiques and collectible needs. Go out and check it out, you guys. If you like pop culture shit, action figures and comic books and antique shit, I'm your guy. Check me out. But I think it's cool. I think it's a good message. I think it's a message that a lot of people ain't in with the positive messages, positive mindset, positive messages, because there's just a lot of negativity in the world today.
I think it always has been. It's just that I think that now, especially now, given in light of recent events, that like all of the positive people are starting to come to like a collective, and like it's kind of like, hey, we can do this, and we don't have to succumb to like. I think the majority of the people that are negative make up less than 1% of people, but they're the loudest.
Oh yeah.
So when those people are louder than the positive people, or positive people choose to abstain or remain quiet, then the negativity is what gets heard. But think that we as people are naturally good people,
right?
And I just, like I said, I just feel like the negative people happen to be the loudest and people of power. So it's kind of like the positive people, like, oh well, I don't want to ruffle any feathers here, so they just choose to be quiet, and that further drowns out the positive message.
Yeah. How do you think we as a society as a whole can hell, maybe we can even go further than society as a world, how can we break that? I know we're jumping in the deep end right now, guys,
let's go.
How do you feel that, just in particular for you in general, how do you break through that that mold and that mentality of pushing the type of stuff that you want to push, and making sure it's good for you and the people around you in society?
Well, I think that it comes with like love and knowledge of self first,
right?
And I think that, I watched a movie like a while back. I think I was like 15 or 16, and it was the simplest line in the movie. He said, "Every man's got to have a code," and that's it. And once you find your code and just know what you will and won't tolerate, put yourself around like-minded people, or sometimes you have to go and do things by yourself. But it's important to be true to yourself. And once that happens, your passion and your dedication and your energy will project you to the levels. But you have to first know and then love yourself and be unapologetic about it. There's nothing worse than people that say, I'm sorry about this, or this may offend you, and I'm sorry if it does. Well, no, consider that beforehand and be you. And the people that you're around, or the people that you're trying to put your message to, should have enough love and respect for you to understand where you're coming from and what you're saying, and your true intent behind like what you're doing. And if they don't, then those people probably shouldn't be around. But you can't get them to believe it if you don't believe it yourself.
I've been one of those people that stay steady on that type of mindset of, I'm going to say what I say, and I've said it so many times on this show over the course of the 100 episodes. I say what I say, I mean what I say, and I'm not going to apologize for it, because most of the time when I say things, I legit mean that. Now, if I come out sideways on somebody and I legit, do something on some, arrogant, retarded stuff, then I'll be like, okay, I really did, I apologize for that, because I really did come off in a bad, like say if I came up to you and, like we passed each other on the street, and, you fucking eyeballed me or some shit like that, in a weird way, somebody might get that wrong impression, and try to square up with you. But those are the cases where like, oh yeah, maybe I come off in the wrong way. And those are the cases where me as a person and as an individual, I'll apologize for. But if I'm talking my talk, and then I mean what I'm saying at that time, you get what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think that like that comes along with like taking an honest inventory of yourself.
Oh yeah.
Like there's no perfect person walking this earth.
Oh yeah.
And no doubt there have been times where like I've come across like an asshole, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when that happens, when somebody calls you out on it, like I can't get offended at the guy that's calling me out. Like if I was an asshole, hey, look, man, you know what? My bad.
Yeah.
But I think that garners far more respect than it does to just remain arrogant. I think especially in society now, man, the most important thing that needs to be realized by like everyone is that we all can improve. And we have to leave ourselves room to grow. Those people. And but honestly, what's been going on lately, like the culture leaves no room for forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, this guy said this thing when he was 14 years old. He's 38. He's 38 now, and like you're gonna hold this against him. Like, are you the same person that you are at 14, at 38? And if you are, like, I feel sorry for you. Like,
I've went on big journeys. I can say I'm 38. I'm one of those guys, like I've said some really dumb shit in my life, and everybody has. And I've always said that, and I've never been one to be like, no, I've never done anything like that. And I think when people are able, like you said, whenever people are able to take a look at themselves and realize shit, I think what you said, I think we'll be able to get past a lot of the problems that we have in society once people start looking like, man, ain't nobody perfect perfect. I said some dumb shit. You said some dumb shit. Are we the same people? Are we the same people today?
No, exactly. And I feel like that's literally like the root of the problem. People unwilling to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
For example, and here we are in the deep end again. Let's take like the thing that's going on in like NASCAR or with the like Confederate statues and everything, right? Like both sides have very, very valid points. Mm-hmm. In terms and this is not me like, you know, towing the line like
right.
Any that type of shit. Like these are like, this is how I feel about it. Like I feel like that America, United States of America, couldn't be the country that it is today if that stuff did not happen. Mm-hmm. Right. So it should be not canonized. What's the word that I'm looking for? It should be like kept, like records should be kept.
Right.
But I also feel like that the other side should look at, hey, this causes a lot of pain and a lot of hurt for people. And then you know, nobody that I ever met was a slave, right? Mm-hmm. And just like I'll bet you dollars to donuts that nobody you ever met was a slave owner or a mm-hmm. Nazi or, you know what I'm saying, something like that. So like so then the question is, why does this mean so much to you? And then the other side looks, well, why does this mean so much to you? And mm-hmm. nobody is willing to see the other side of things and realize that nobody is 100% correct mm-hmm. In any of these circumstances.
I follow a guy on social media named Eric July. He's in a band. He also does, you know, political commentary on, you know, pop culture topics, you know, like comic books and video games and movies and stuff like that. Oh, nice. And he's a big time hardcore, you know, libertarian. And he had a tweet the other day, a couple weeks ago, when all this stuff started popping off, and he goes, two things can be right at the same time. Yeah, it's just how are we going to go about realizing this, that two things, like you said, you know, I can understand, you know, I'm in Southern Missouri, you know, we're kind of right on that borderline of the South and of the Union, the Confederacy and the Union. We're right on that borderline.
Right.
You know, so a lot of people in the area where I live, in some of the surrounding towns and stuff like that, they fly the flag, they fly those flags and everything, and they have deep rooted, you know, in that heritage. And then I also sympathize with people from the other side of that aisle that might think it's a little bit unsavory. But at that same time, I'm like, I can understand both of y'all's points. How can we get to I made a comment on a post today. I go, how can we understand that there's an issue here? How about we build that bridge and we put those necessary bricks in place to build that bridge to understanding, instead of blowing that whole bridge up.
Right, exactly. And that's what's like so crazy, mm-hmm. right? It's like you got two sides screaming unity, make America great again, let's come together as one country. Mm-hmm. And we saw that for like the beginning of like the COVID-19 stuff, right? Like America was like, hey, look, we're together, we're solid.
Yeah.
Like, let's join. And it's a shame that it takes a world pandemic or a terrorist attack or anything like that for like two sides of the aisle to come together. And so the foundation of the bridge, so to speak, is there, but who's going to walk across it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then nobody wants to be the bigger person either. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, we'll meet you in the middle. I'm not going 60% or I'm not going 40%, but that's just like with anything else in life. It's kind of like if you want something done bad enough, if I have to walk 90% to get it done and then receive the other 10% help, once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to have to make the sacrifice. Like,
yeah, I'm the type of guy who, you know, I got people from all walks of life, you know, so, and I got people from all sides of the aisles, you know, like I got really good friends that are very, very staunch conservative people. I got friends that are very, you know, staunch Christian and deep rooted in Christian belief. I got friends that are, you know, that are atheist. So I'm that guy that constantly goes back and forth. And I'm just like, because I had a guy on the other day, a couple weeks ago, and I go, how can we find those commonalities between each other? You know, say you're a left wing person, but you're hardcore in the gun culture, you're hardcore in the Second Amendment, but then and then you have the opposite side that you're a hardcore Republican or conservative or whatever, but you're also hardcore, you know, in the gun culture, in the Second Amendment. There's you a building block. There's you a bridge to walk to each other on and be like, okay, I might disagree with you on this thing here, but let's build this bond here, because when you build that bond with people, you're ultimately able to better understand the person as a whole. And then that's where you could build out from there. You could add more bricks to those bridges, to those personal bridges.
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy because like something funny about it, right? Like, so my wife is Guatemalan, and you know, she's in the military like as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, you know, political statements are made, and she's like, no, or you know, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then you know, a particular issue will happen, and I'll be like, hey, be careful, you're starting to sound right wing. So we could not be more opposite politically, right? So you know, I think one way, she thinks another way, you know, whatever. I'm not gonna lose fans on your podcast for like votes or whatever, right?
You won't lose anybody. But, my base, like I said, my base is they know, like I've come on here and I've shit talked Trump, I've shit talked Bernie Sanders. I'm the type of person, if I feel like I need to say something about somebody, I'm gonna say it.
All right, cool, let's go then.
You know, so some people, it's one of the things, you know, like I think more people need to speak up about their feelings, because I think when we start talking about our feelings and our positions and our mindsets and our ideas, those are chances and abilities, like I said a while ago, of being able to find common ground with each other, to build each other together and better unify as people. Because, you know, me, I see everybody as an American. I don't see everybody as I don't see black man, I don't see white man. Obviously, you know, you're a black man, I know that, but like, you're an American. You're not any of that other thing, you know. And that's the type of bridge that I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build a whole entire bridge to where everybody can come to it. So, right. You know, so that's the type of energy that I want to push out, because I want people to better understand each other. So that's why I'm giving platforms to people that I don't agree with everybody that comes on here. Like my buddy, my staunch conservative buddy, I don't agree with everything that he said, but I also don't agree with everything that everybody else says. And I think that's a good place to be at, is we don't have to agree on everything, but we can still be cool with each other. We can still be friends with each other.
That's amazing. So like I'll continue with the story then.
Yeah.
So I'm not a staunch conservative, but like I lean more towards like the conservative side. My loyalty or my opinion usually falls in line with the Constitution, right? Yeah. Or at least my interpretation of the Constitution. Yeah. Which I guess makes me a libertarian. But but like I think I take the conservative side on a lot of issues, like you know, abortion, death penalty, stuff like that, right? Yeah. So my wife is like the hardcore the other side. She's more like, oh, let's just love the environment and make sure we recycle. And so there's a couple things or a couple issues that have happened recently regarding, you know, border patrol and stuff like that. And she'd make a comment and I'd just be like, hey, be careful, you starting to sound like a conservative. Like, and we just like joke back and forth about the whole thing. But that just like treats, like, to your point, it speaks to your point that I think a lot more people have a lot more in common than they think. It's just no one will have the conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the, oh man, I've said this thing so many times. Sometimes I get tired of, like I said, I've done this 100 episodes and I get tired of saying the same stuff over and over, but sometimes it's necessary to say the same things over and over and over. And like you just said, you know, like there's sometimes people don't realize how much they do have in common with people.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it was crazy because obviously I'm a big black dude with tattoos, right?
Right.
So, you know, I like wearing my hat backwards. I like, I drive, you know, an SUV, you know, and
what type of SUV? You got wheels on it?
I do not actually. I got the stocks. They're 22s, but so, you know, I drive an SUV and I'm an entertainer. So like, I'm loud and boisterous and noticeable by nature. Like I stick out just by the nature of my build.
Right.
And like one of my best friends in the world is like a 60-something-year-old white lady. Like, and it's crazy because the way that we became friends was she was saying something about like politics, and then I look at her and I'm listening to her, like not in a look of judgment. I was listening to her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry if that offends you," and I just look at her. I was like, "Why would you automatically consider me like to be offended or assume that I was offended, or why would you feel the need to apologize?" I feel like, and then I explained what it was, and ever since then we've been like really just let her leave and opposite her.
Hold on 1 second.
We would have just been at odds.
Yeah. Go back just a quick second with what you were saying. You started to cut out a little bit, just so people don't miss what you was just saying.
To which part?
To about the lady.
So she was making like political comments about something, and I looked at her, and it was a look of listening, not judgment. And because I feel like that everyone deserves the right to be heard.
Yeah.
Believed and agreed with, and not so much, but everyone deserves the right to be heard. Mm-hmm. So I was listening to her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry if that offends you." So I could have just like left it at that, but I didn't. I was just like, "Why would you assume I was offended?" And then I explained like what I felt about what she was saying. Right. And now to this day, a big black dude with tattoos and a elderly white lady with like a quick tongue are like two of the best friends in the world, but that could have not happened. Mm-hmm. Had we didn't have a conversation.
Right. And I mean that's a real good, like a good point of, what I was saying is being able to find that common ground and being able to understand and actually listen to people, because that's one of the big things that I think's going on today is nobody wants to listen to anything. It's just my beliefs, my side, fuck you, go off and die somewhere. That in my head, that's the way I see people, is because and to me that it really fucks me up, because I want to bring people, like I legit want to bring people together, to see people, so ready to be violent with each other, essentially, like over words, essentially, is just it's one of those things that it sucks the energy right out of me.
well, I think it's one of those things where like a lot of it's knee-jerk reaction, right? Oh yeah. So there is like change and reform and things of that nature that need to happen in this country. Oh yeah. But at the same time, you can't go like ultra cancel culture on everything. Right. And one of the things that I saw that like kind of pissed me off was I think it was like a month ago, they started saying that Robert Downey Jr. was wrong for playing a black dude in Tropic Thunder. Yeah. But I'm like, did you watch the fucking movie? Like him playing blackface was the point. Like, yeah. That was the lesson. And
yeah. That was the whole point of
and I was arguing with like another like black friend of mine. Oh, this is fucked up. He shouldn't have did that. And I was like, do you realize that in the end, once he realized that he was himself, and the studio or the filmmakers or whatever, just, hey, we should have got a black guy. Like in the first place, like they were, that was actually in a turnabout way sticking up for you. Like, why are you trying to cancel like something? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then like most recently, Paw Patrol is trying to take the cop dog off. Yeah. Like, I mean, just to bring it on a kid scale, because like people are pissed off at the police. Like, stop it. Like you can't go uber sensitive on everything. Yeah.
And I think that's a big detriment to, like I understand, I understand about, the level of, police brutality. I'm not cool with that. I've been tuned up, even simple, I'm not a big guy, I'm a short guy, but I've been tuned up, and I've had cops do me wrong. And, and that's one thing that I wish people would really understand is it might look like it happens to everybody or to one side more than the other. But to me, look from the outside looking in, me being that person that's trying to understand everything. And I'm like, it happens a lot to a lot of people, but what a lot of people don't realize is that it's not, it is the police, and there's obviously definitely bad police out there, and we should get rid of them. But we elected the people in office who hand down these dumbass laws that allows these cops to do this, and essentially gives them free reign to do what they want. We need to start looking at the state, local, federal levels and be like, okay, who are the people that are making these dumbass laws that really shouldn't even be laws to get these guys to do this, like everybody's had a dumbass law, like there's a dumbass law. I can't remember the exact, there's like 30 different states that have that. There's a law where it's illegal to give oral sex to somebody. That's a fucking dumbass law.
It's sodomy in Georgia.
Yeah. It's a dumbass, it's a dumbass law. Why is it even on the books? Get rid of it. Granted, there ain't going to be no cop poking in your door being like, what are you doing, motherfucker? But there's so many of those cases and instances where it's just a retarded law, and that gives them the probable, they think it gives them the probable cause to go further, but it actually doesn't. And then that's where all the fuckery happens.
Oh, for sure. But like you said, it happens to like everyone. But I think most most recently, it's people being fed up with it happening to blacks for so long.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And I think that, and again, this is my opinion.
Right.
Most recently, it's you couple that with the fact that, you know, you go back to the 60s and the civil rights movement and you know, Reaganomics in the 80s, and then you have like the 90s where like a fairly peaceful period for the most part.
Besides the early 90s where, you know, besides the early 90s, you know, when the whole fucking, you know, Rodney King shit happened, but yeah,
I mean, but I mean, like but so like it's for as long as I can remember, and my father has been alive, at least, like it seems like all of the legislation and the systems are set up to target and keep black people at a disadvantage, and I think now people are kind of fed up, especially now that like more people feel like that everyone should be equal. Like, you know, that's an overwhelming majority. So now is the time to act. I feel like that King, X, Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner, those guys they planted seeds and laid the groundwork and, you know, framed the garden. And now it's time for us to reap the harvest. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off. Let you finish your thought out.
And I think that the whole COVID quarantine just added on to it, because now you have people getting fed up with this kind of stuff. It's been going on, and it's highly publicized in the media, and nothing's being done about it. You're telling me that I can't go outside, but the police is the face of the government, whether people like it or not. It's kind of like, you know, I know that they operate on federal, state, and, you know, county levels, but a lot of people don't realize that and just look at the face of the government as the police. So you're using these people to tell me that I can't go anywhere, and they're out here doing this stuff, and there's no repercussion for it, and I'm tired of being in the house, and I have no outlet, no vent, no nothing. I can't do the things that I like to do, and it's kind of like the perfect storm. But I think we'll be better in the long run for it.
Well, yeah, that's where I was saying of you know, you brought back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s. You had the, you know, where you said that, you know, you feel, and maybe some other people feel that, you know, that the system's checked against you and kind of holding you down. And I do understand that, and I do agree with you on that. But that's where I say we need to look at the people who's been in offices that long. There's politicians currently in office right now who wrote those legislations. Those motherfuckers shouldn't be there. You know, that's where I say we need to, even as a whole, as a society and a community, I think that's where we need to focus on. I think I've told somebody the other day, I go, if we have a politician who's been in office for 30, 40, even 50 years, and there is some politicians up there that's been in office for 30, 40, 50 years, and every 4 years, every 2 years, they come back to us, whether it's the black community, white community, you know, Spanish community or whatever, they come in, they talk to us, and they go, hey, you know, we're going to here do this for you. We're fighting for you guys. Don't worry about these people. We're fighting for you. And they do this for 30, 40, 50 years. And after 30, 40, 50 years, there's no change whatsoever. Not even in a simple legislation, something as simple as, you know, saying, hey, don't punch each other. You know, that's not an actual legislation, but a simple legislation. Nothing changes. That's our biggest detriment, and that's where we get caught into that cycle of, you know, whether it be the black community or the white. That's one of the reasons why I think the black and white communities so far, you know, at odds with each other, essentially, is because there's a lot of people on both sides that don't understand that it's got to start with us, the people, realizing that, look, it's these guys over here, it's these guys in office that are making these laws and legislations that don't want to change anything, because they want to keep us at odds with each other, because that's more of a way for them to, you know, to tax us unscrupulously, you know, whether it be through, you know, income taxes, payroll, you know, income taxes, sales taxes, payroll, you know, property taxes, you know, stupid fees, you know, like being able to collect rainwater, you got to get a fucking license for dumb shit like that. These are the people that are creating the animosity that most people don't actually see. And that's one thing that I've tried to do on my show and on my platform, is to get people to, hey, like, look, don't look at the brother over there. The brother right there might actually agree with you. Let's start looking at these motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head, man. Like, perfectly. You hit the nail right on the head. But it has to start with we the people, because because there's just ignorance, man. The best way to take power out of someone's hands is to willfully keep them ignorant of everything.
Uh-oh.
And
Dominic looks like he wants to talk. You want to talk, Dominic? What you got to talk about?
yeah, no, he's tired. He's going through a mental leap, and hopefully he's learning it as much as Daddy can teach him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the best way to like cut off people, is to willfully keep them ignorant. And a lot of people don't realize that like you have to study and you have to educate yourself as to how things work. Because if I was a politician of 30 years and you had a complaint, I can just be like, hey, you know, it takes a long time. But if I know how the system works and what the policies and the procedures are in place, I can then hold you accountable. Hey, this does not take that long. What have you been doing? Why are but we can't ask these questions because we don't know ourselves, and any answer said confidently becomes the correct one, and the government is not going to, or the people making the moves are not going to like push this information out to us because like why would they, you know what I mean? And if we became a collective informed body as people, then the power in this country would truly be in the hands of the people, which was never intended to happen.
Well, and that's something that I've been saying for years now, and it's just like when you actually look at the whole scope of everything and you start picking apart everything, like I tell people, like in my younger days, I'm 38. In my younger days, I was pretty liberal on a lot of things. And as I got into my 20s, mid 20s, I became, more conservative, staunch conservative about stuff. And then right around the time where, it was right around 2010, 2011, when, what's his name? Oh God, what the fuck's that guy's name? I can't, he's slipping my mind. But he came out about, the CIA spying and stuff like that. He worked on computers and stuff like that. I forget what the guy's name is. Snowden. And then this is what really woke me up to both sides. And when Snowden came out with all that stuff, and he was all like, this is what your government's doing to you, da 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 da. And then I sat there and I watched, people from the CIA going, no, this is not what we did. And it's just like, I legitly seen the evidence right here, and you're flat out telling me that you're not doing it and that you didn't do it. And then that whole time and that whole thing through that whole committee meeting that he was in, essentially all the politicians were like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, okay. And it was just like, that was my enlightenment moment, to where like, this is a bunch of fuckery. Everybody, both sides are playing both sides. Both sides are keeping us willfully dumb. And that goes back to, the school systems. Government didn't have full control of the school systems until the 1970s. That's when they fully took over the school systems. And it was what the government was wanting you to learn and not what needs to be learned.
So, crazy story. My come to Jesus moment with that kind of stuff was actually the West Wing.
Okay.
So like in later House of Cards, right? Yeah, whatever.
Fuck that dude with House Cards. We know what he did. Fuck that motherfucker.
But
it was a good show, though.
It was a great show.
Yeah.
So I'm watching, and like I was dating this lady at the time whose parents like sent her like a box set, right? So we watched like all of the seasons, and we kind of binge watched it. Like we just stayed in one day, ordered like a bunch of junk food, drank some wine, and watched The West Wing. And finally, I was kind of like, I wonder how much of this shit is actually true. Like because they would have to make deals. Okay, we'll take this out of the thing if you do this, and we'll do this. And I was like, I wonder how much of this is true. And I started to like do some research, and I stayed up, I remember, for like 2 days straight because I couldn't sleep. And the rabbit hole just got deeper and deeper, and finally I had to pull myself out of it. But now, like, I'm to a point where I'm just like, nope, question everything.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize. I think in my interpretation of everything that I've read throughout history, about the founding fathers and stuff. While we might have had some unscrupulous characters back then, when it comes to the founding fathers, the fundamental thing that they put in place for us is that to question everything. They never wanted the population to be fully trusting and to believe everything as the gospel when it came to government, because they said government is the necessary. Essentially, they said something along the lines of government is the necessary evil that we have to have because other than that, it would just be total anarchy and chaos. As we can kind of see what's going on nowadays up in Seattle and stuff like that.
No, like for sure. Not to mention that the founding fathers were coming from like a kingship.
Oh, yeah.
Where everything that the king decreed was literally the gospel, and like that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's further evidence. Here we are, a few hundred years later,
Yeah.
and Seattle hasn't learned their lesson. And so, like, anybody listening, like, this is what happens if you fucking defund the police department. Like, what are you, crazy? Like, like how can you tell me that I don't need a gun because we've got the police, but then you don't want the police to have money? Like,
Right.
you know, and it's a lot of the same people on both sides of that same argument, man. Like, don't defund the police. Like, get them help. Like, let's revisit what kind of training they have and what kind of background checks are necessary for you to become a police officer.
Yeah.
And then let's mandate seeing like a shrink, every 2 months or so, to make sure that they're still good to go. And you know what I mean? Like, let's spend money doing that, but defund? Like, what are you, high?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was one of those people. I was just like, you know what? I think I don't remember where I put it out. I put it out somewhere. I said, you know what? Tell every cop to take a month off. Every cop in the country, just be like, hey guys, we're not going to deal with this shit. If you guys want us gone, fine. We're going to take a month off. Let you guys handle yourselves. And then people will be, while that's the extreme, what that would do is people will quickly realize, people will it will be a come to Jesus moment for a lot of people. And they will realize that we do need that semblance of police and law and order. But we also need that semblance of being able to protect ourselves against, whether it be a tyrannical government and or some crazy ass intruder that wants to take my goods.
Yeah, but that goes back to your point earlier, man. Building a bridge, like, these people are correct. Like, there has to be some sort of change, right? I don't know what right looks like in this situation, but I certainly know what wrong looks like. And and like, defunding the police department will probably be the beginning of the purge. Like, it's like, who's, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing. There's nothing that will make me not want the law and order. Like, just we have to find a way to a resolution and build a bridge, right? Like you said.
Sometimes I put out those things just to see what people would say, to like, fuck it, just let them all go home. Be like, hey guys, they apparently want you gone, just say, hey guys. And you see that by a lot of was it down in Georgia, half the squad walked off.
Yep.
There was another instance where that those two cops pushed the elderly gentleman, and the entire crew that with them, they all walked off. And it's just like, guys, like, look at the rabbit hole that you're trying to push us down into. So I was just like, you know what, like, just further push it. Just, hey guys, I told people, I go, if I was a cop, I'd walk off. I'd be like, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore. You motherfuckers handle yourselves.
There's an overwhelming amount of people calling out with the quote unquote blue flu.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but they these guys, man, like, they're like, even in Georgia, like, you can't not have them there.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I think even in Seattle, they have their chop zone or whatever it's called, but like, there's cops surrounding that zone.
Yeah.
So like, even then, you know what I mean, to stop stuff from getting out of hand.
Yeah.
And when who's going to settle like your disputes? Who's going to, so here's this is going to get me in hot water, but whatever. So I was arguing with a female friend of mine, like, and we're good friends. And she's like, oh, they should defund the police and this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, so I got an idea. What happens when, you're at home and you slaved over a stove all day, and, your man walks in and you burnt the potatoes again and it goes upside your head? Who you calling to help you? Like, what's going to happen? I mean, and that's probably not the best example to use given recent hashtags, but
I mean, I think it's an appropriate analogy to use because it's a factual analogy. Like, what if there's nobody there to call? Who are you going to call?
Yeah, exactly. And then what happens? Like, the government's going to have to institute martial law, which, like, and then let me put my foil hat on.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And one economy, etc. And you know what I mean? Like, what happens then?
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize is when it gets down to that level, we'll use the chop zone for example. It's been about roughly maybe 2 weeks since that shit happened, since they took over that.
Right.
There's been four shootings and I think three dead in that zone.
That's crazy. So like that goes to show you that the bullshit that they're preaching doesn't work.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they don't want the police there, but they wanted the fire and rescue and the ambulance, and it was really sad. You know, I watched the video. The first case is the guy who got shot literally laid there for 30 plus minutes bleeding out because the fire and rescue, the ambulance people weren't cleared to go in because the cops weren't allowed to go in because they didn't want the cops in there.
Right.
And then you have the warlord leader guy, whatever his name is, Raz or Roz or whatever that he's claiming his name to be. You know, he was literally, I seen a video of him standing outside of an EMT's, you know, vehicle saying, this blood is on your hands. You could save this guy, but you don't want to come in there. And then the guy's like, we can't go in there unless the area is secured for us, for our safety.
But and here's the thing. So that leader of that group or whatever didn't think to grab like 2 or 3 people and drag this guy outside of the zone. Yeah. So again, just, you know,
yeah.
Like,
and then and the funny thing is then finally when the cops did come in, they did finally allow the cops to come in after like a half hour or so. As the cops were going through searching and looking and whatever, they go, he's already gone. The guy's already gone. He's already he's already on his way to the hospital. Da 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 da. We had to take him ourselves because you guys didn't want to come in here. Little dude, what's up, man?
He's tired, man. He's tired.
Yeah, but
it's almost time for him to eat too. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, why didn't you do that? You know, in the very beginning, or be like, just, you know, come off your high horse, man. Like, it's not. I don't look at this chop zone as like some noble act of like reform or anything. Like these people are idiots, and they have no regard for like the safety of other people. Like the intent is good, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And if you decide that you're going to occupy this zone, like, why was nobody thinking about medical, right? Because honestly, what they're doing is it's a warlike act against the government of the United States of America. Yeah. So it's like you're going in and you're taking over, city blocks or whatever. Like, war was a possibility, death is a possibility, casualties and injury is a possibility. So why was no one considering, hey, do we have medical? Like,
I told people the other day, I was making jokes about it, and I was just like, you know what? Trump should just be like, let him have it. Let him take it. Give him Seattle, matter of fact. Just let him have Seattle. You know, because the way I'm seeing it is they're doing all this stuff and they're keeping it going because they want him to do something about it. They want him to ride in with the National Guard or the military and just squash it all. They want him to do that because they want Trump to be, you know, they essentially want him to be the dictator. You know, so they're purposely setting this thing in ploy and letting it draw out and letting all this stuff happen so they can eventually be like, aha, look, you guys, we told you that Trump was the dictator. Look at him. He came in and killed all these Americans.
Yeah. You know, and it's crazy because like, but that there's politics again. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like even these people are willing to die or, you know, willing to be killed just to prove a point. But like, why does it have to come to that? Yeah. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Why can't we just have, you know, a conversation? We're all intelligent people these days. You know. Sometimes
we are.
Well, no, I mean, like, I mean, even the warlord or whatever the hell his name is, like, knows what the law is. Yeah.
I seen a video of him today. That dude today, he was walking around the zone with an AR on his back, and he was walking around with an AR on his back. And, you know, I don't have a problem with that. Cool. You know, carry your gun, bro. I don't have a problem with you carrying guns, and then the funny thing is he walked over to his Tesla and grabbed a handful more guns and started handing them out to people. And it's just like, I'm just like, wait a second. Like, didn't you guys say that you don't want guns here? Like, why are y'all all of a sudden carrying guns? And like,
how can you be in an anti-gun zone and, you know, you're supplying the guns? Yeah. It's like, hey, I don't want anybody colored with Crayola crayons, but unless they're my Crayola crayons.
Right.
Like, Like, what sense does that make? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
But this is the. Sorry, I'm going to change a diaper real quick.
Oh, it's all right.
It's got to be a podcast first, right?
Yeah. Luckily it's only luckily it's only audio, fellas. A bunch of fucking weirdos out there. So let's talk about wrestling for a little bit, man. What made you get into pro wrestling?
So I've always loved it, man. Ever since the Iron Man match, the 60-minute Iron Man match, Michaels and Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Michaels has always been like my favorite wrestler. Like always, he made it cool to, be the I'm gonna get the girls guy.
Yeah.
And especially like after he kicked Marty through the barbershop window.
Right.
So at that point, I was just like, oh, what is this? Like these guys, I can be these guys. And so I watched it always, and then you kind of fall. You go through Attitude Era or whatever. I really wasn't allowed to watch it. I got suspended from school a couple times for telling people to suck it.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can't do that, obviously. So I wasn't allowed to watch for a while. Then it came back with like The Rock after he joined the Nation of Domination and things like that. And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. So then, life happens. You join the military, and I come to Virginia, and I was at a bar, and this guy, like the owner of this training school, was in there drinking at the same time. And he's just like, hey, you ever thought about being a pro wrestler? You got some size on you. We could probably use you. And I was just like, only every day of my life. And so he's like, okay. He gave me his address. I go down by the school and I try out. I'm naturally athletic, so I did well in the tryout. Yeah. And then, one thing led to another, and it turns out I'm really good. So I was like, hey, we can make a run at this thing, man. Let's see what happens.
So, what branch of the military are you in?
I'm in the Navy.
Okay.
I'm in the Navy. I just completed a 8-month deployment on the continent of Africa. Yeah. Yeah, that was nuts.
How was that?
It was hot, and actually, let me backtrack. So I went there when did I leave? I left in October. So that's considered the winter month. So it's only like 80 degrees there. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of my stay there, it was like 120 degrees at 6 a.m. and everything was shut down because of COVID. And so like, it was miserable towards the end because we kept getting extended because everyone's borders were shut down. Right. And things of that nature. So like, finally we get back home, and I missed the birth of this little fella, actually.
Oh man.
Because
that's the life,
Yeah, I was supposed to be home, for it to happen. Yeah. And I ended up missing it because of, extensions or whatever. But he was here waiting for me when I got here. So
well, it seems all good. So he seems to be doing good. He's been pretty chill the whole podcast.
Well, yeah, he likes my voice.
Yeah.
It soothes him. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So who were some of the big influences that you said? You said, was it Michaels?
Yeah, Shawn Michaels initially is what made me love the business. And then, as I grew, most recently, because when I broke into the business, actually, it was Roman Reigns. Yeah. Believe it or not, because he walks with like an attitude and a swagger that like a lot of, and actually he's better than a lot of people give him credit for.
Oh yeah.
So like Reigns was one of my guys. And then actually Cedric Alexander on his independent scene.
Oh yeah.
I went to AML down here in North Carolina, and I saw he and Shane Strickland put on a wrestling clinic. Like, it was amazing. It was a strong style wrestling clinic. And so I was just like, okay, cool. I got to meet him, and we chat, and he shoots over advice every now and then. Right. Checks in on me every now and then. And yeah, and so I think I would equate my wrestling style even to Roman Reigns, Cedric Alexander, and probably like Batista.
Yeah.
That's me.
What's how long you been in the business?
5 years.
5 years? Okay, cool.
I'm not counting 2020. I'm not counting 2020, so 4 years.
Okay. I've told people, for years now about, Roman being, I think one big disservice that WWE does to Roman Reigns is they do the talking for Roman Reigns instead of letting Roman Reigns do the talking for himself. I think if they let Roman,
100%.
I think if they let Roman be Roman, I think you're going to see a difference between night and day.
Well, they want to build him as like Superman or this indestructible thing. But like when he was Leaki at FCW,
yeah,
and his moveset was like better. And he's kind of like he fell into that John Cena trap.
Yeah,
where like John Cena can go.
Oh yeah.
And especially like his OVW prototype days, John Cena can go.
Yeah.
And it's like when you script 5 moves for me, you'll get three things that you do all the time: a signature and a finish, right? And that's going to be your match. When that happens, like you become like stale. So then you have to rely on like your promos to get you over, like The Rock, for example. His promo sets got him like well more than his like in-ring action.
Oh yeah. I've told people. I've told people that actually the guy I just got done talking to with Fox. I go, one thing that I see that's wrong in wrestling today is there's not enough guys willing to be character. You know what I mean? Like everybody can do the moves and everything like that, but nobody wants to do the character work necessary to make them the big stars. If you look throughout history,
I think everybody wants to be.
Yeah, everybody wants to be the. Everybody wants to be the cool hip guy.
Yeah, everyone wants to be Stone Cold, and everyone wants to just punch, kick, and stomp. That's like take 205 Live for example. Right, those are some of the best athletes in the world. That was on 205 Live, but none of them had any character depth, which is why Enzo Amore was so able to like go over there and get over.
Oh yeah,
because he was a character. He couldn't wrestle for shit, but he definitely had like character work for days.
I think that's one thing that people getting into the business could do is I use the example, like if you go out throughout the history of the business, and you can even go as far back as like the 50s and 60s and stuff like that, and you look at all the people who were the biggest names in the business, while they might have been good workers and great workers, they were bigger characters than they were workers.
Right, like Hulk Hogan, arguably the greatest. Like I think the obviously the total package of it all was obviously Ric Flair, right?
Yeah.
He could walk the walk, talk the talk, etc. Right? So Flair's the man. Yeah. But when it comes to that, that's why when he says he's the greatest of all time, like you'd be hard pressed to find anybody to argue with him. Mm-hmm. Him, Taker, Michaels. Right, but see, back in the day, you had to be it all, right? So before, television, it was all about the moves, and you could not cut a promo, and have the big ring announcer boys cut the promo for you, right? Yeah. But when TV happened, like everyone had to be able to talk a little bit. So then, so now you're absolutely correct. Like The Rock is probably the biggest star in the world because of his promo skills, more so than. There you go.
What's up, Dominic? You cool now? You cool now, bro? He was wanting to talk about The Rock there, man. He's like, don't you be talking about The Rock on me, man. I know all about him.
He's like, me and The Rock.
Me and The Rock were best friends.
No one wants to do the character work, and I think that's more important oftentimes than the actual moves. Like you said, a body slam's a body slam's a body slam. Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, and I can only see so many backflips from a person. Like one thing that I look at workers nowadays is like I'll recognize like if a guy's a tremendous athlete and a tremendous worker, but like like people you could say like who's super flashy, like Like AJ
Will
Styles.
Ospreay. Yeah.
Will Ospreay. Okay, yeah, we'll use him as an example. Amazing worker, amazing technical skill, but to me, he's got the personality of a trash can.
Right.
And therefore, while people might be like, "Oh, Will Ospreay, amazing, amazing, amazing," and then I'm watching and I'm just like, okay, oh yeah, he's very technical and good. And that was one of the things that they said about Dean Malenko back in the day. Dean Malenko was an amazing fucking wrestler, amazing worker.
Yeah, for sure, dude. But Malenko legit lived his moniker, man. Like man of 1,000 holds. Like he could wrestle a fucking paper bag and make it entertaining.
Yeah, but when it came down to the personality, it was a little flat. And I say that.
None.
Hold on, Bob Cook, if you listen to this. I don't know if you know who Bob Cook is, but Bob Cook, if you listen to this, you can tell Dean I said that, but tell Dean that I love him just the same.
Dude, Dean Malenko is amazing, dude. Like, and like I think for any aspiring pro wrestlers listening, or for anyone that has problems or knowing what to study or anything like that, look at Dean Malenko's footwork. His footwork and his transitions are like perfect.
Yeah.
So there's a little love to Dean Malenko.
Yeah.
Bob Cook passed that along as well.
Bob is a buddy of mine. He's an old school wrestler, from the 70s and 80s. And he actually trained with Boris and Dean and Jody and all of those guys. So he came up in that era with the great Malenko. Nice. So, he always talks. I had him on the podcast a couple weeks ago and told, a bunch of stories, and I asked him about Dean, and he's like, Dean was as smooth as silk, light as a feather. He could make the stuff look as legit as it possibly could, but it was literally like dropping a feather, he said. And then he said that's the way that Dean worked. And I was like, and I think that's another thing that people don't, guys in the business nowadays, they, even on the strong style circuits, and I say that coming from somebody who did the strong style stuff. I worked a little bit snugger, more than I probably should have. And looking back now at it, year after years pass, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have worked like that with people, because it does take time off your card, essentially, of working that type of style.
Well, I pride myself on being one of the softest, bigger guys like there is.
Yeah.
Like, I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone that I've ever had a match with to be like, oh man, he peppered me the whole fucking match. Like, no, not at all. Like, in fact, I was at a CZW Dojo Wars. Fuck DJ Hyde, but like, I was at, I was up there, and my match was against him.
Yeah.
And so I'm working the match, and like I'm a strong style guy. I love it. Like I feel like it makes the most fight sense. Mm-hmm. After the match, he's looked at me. He's like, "You were really trained not to hit people, weren't you?" Mm-hmm. Like, and I was like, "Well," he's like, "Yeah, everything." And I was like, "Well, yeah, but like the fans bought it all." And he's just like, "Yeah, and he went off on like this rant. But like that's like my thing is to like I'll make it look as legit as you want it to look, but I'm not going to hurt you in the process, because if you ever had the chance to get on one of these like tours, these Canadian or European tours, we got to do the same thing like 2 hours from now. You know what I mean? Like for it's 7 o'clock at night, but 10 o'clock in the morning, we're back doing the same thing. And after the 10 o'clock show, there's a 1 o'clock show. And then, so we're doing the same thing like 3 or 4 times. And I think if I'm peppering you at 10 a.m., it's not going to be as good of a match at 1 o'clock. Yeah.
So done any work with any of the bigger companies, your Ring of Honors and, Impacts and stuff like that? Have you done any of that type of work?
I've done development with ROH and but that's it. I'm still questing for the Holy Grail.
Right.
Jonathan Gresham's like a mentor to me as well.
Yeah. I know him. I know of him. I don't know him personally, but I know of him.
Yeah, we speak often. He's like the head trainer at the ROH dojo now. But like again, with COVID and deployment and everything, I haven't been able to do like anything other than like vlog everything. Like that's it. Stay in shape and vlog. And there's some opportunities coming up like later this month that I'll be or July that'll be happening. And I'm in talks with some people that will get me seen soon. Okay, and that's all I can say about it right now. So
okay, well, I mean, this thing will be dropping probably in a week or so. So maybe by the drop time, people who's listened to this far, I'm gonna give one shout out. Tyler's an OG of mine, big wrestling fan, watches and follows and listens to everything that I put out, even if it's long ass shit. The motherfucker rides and dies with me. So I holler, I give him a shout out on almost every show. Tyler,
what's up, Tyler?
You got to check the guy. You got to check the guy out. Dejuan O'Neil. All of his shit's going to be down in the in the description box of all the places that this can be heard. Anything else you want to get into, man? Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, it's up to you. It's your show, man. Obviously, like I really have fun in this conversation, man.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Kind of like all over the place, and like this is how I like to like talk to people, man. Just get different perspectives and everything.
Oh yeah.
I will say, man, not necessarily like for a lengthy discussion. I will say that, like, listen to your listeners, man. We're in a critical time in this country and a critical place in history, and we have a chance to rewrite it. Don't be an asshole. Be kind and be smart about everything. That's just like, and if everyone took that kind of mentality, then I believe that like right now is a good time to hit the reset button for this country's history. And that's.
Oh man, you're preaching to the choir here. That's something that's something I tell people. Like I tell people, like I come off. Like if you see my shit. If you see my shit that I post on Facebook, sometimes I come off as an asshole on certain things that I talk about. But if you really get down to the brass tacks of it and you actually talk to me and you hit me up in the DM, and you have a face-to-face conversation with me, you're going to realize that I am not what you see. I'm not what you think I might be. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody is just because of what you see on the surface, open that book up a little bit more, because that person who you think might be that bad, evil person or, ignorant, arrogant, asshole type guy or girl, open that book up a little bit more, hit him up in the DM and be like, hey, yo, let me have some clarification on this type stuff, like, because I post a lot of political shit on my thing. And hell, you even commented on one the other day when I said when I mentioned something about brother being the new N-word.
Oh yeah, man. So oh god.
And it was just like, those are the situations that I find myself in all the time. And it's just like, bro, like, and this is a cat. The cat that said that to me, I've known this guy for like 8 or 9 years.
So I feel like this. I feel like everybody's looking for a reason right now. Everyone's looking for a reason to tie everything to racism, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I also feel like that sometimes Black people are too sensitive.
Okay.
Oh wow, here we go. Yeah, let's go
back in the weeds again.
So, like, I was saying, a buddy of mine that the reason that the N-word has so much power is because Black people allow it to. Like, if I came to you and I'm just like, what's up, motherfucker? The word motherfucker doesn't have any prestige to you. Mm-hmm. So you just be like, what's up? Like, you know what I'm saying? But like, if like a person that's not Black, like, feels like the N-word is going to piss off that Black person and that person happens to wrong them at the moment, that's what they're going to go to. So like we as a people have to stop putting that word on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and that's one thing. Another thing is that, what racism is like being used as a control mechanism, right? If you want to move Black people into a certain direction, and this is not me, this is not conjecture or like me, spitballing. Like, history shown, like if you want to move Black people like a voting block of black people or
Right.
a culture of black, just attach some racism to it, and they're automatically doing the opposite of that, right? No
Right.
matter what. And so like that thing, I kind of feel like brother, like I've been called brother, like even we even it, and like what's up, bro? So like
Yeah.
is like that's not that's not the shorter version of the N word.
Yeah.
Like, and I call people bro all the time. So
Yeah.
like so like that one, I just kind of feel like the people who are agreeing with that type of logic just need to grow the fuck up. Like
Yeah.
let it go. Like it's not a thing.
I don't think it's so much. I posted that comment kind of tongue in cheek because I knew he would eventually see it, and I was hoping that he would comment on it, but he didn't. But the conversation that me and that guy had, it's been a conversation that we've had over the course of the last, I'd say, since before Christmas, and it's been an ongoing conversation in one thread on my Facebook.
Nice.
Since December, and the whole conversation started on a mutual friend's post, and I simply said the words "taxation is theft."
Agreed. It's unconstitutional.
And I explained why. And he immediately targeted me as the only person that would say that is the ultra right wing, essentially white supremacist death squad type guy. I was like, bro, you know me, that's not me. Why are you trying to lump me in that? And then actually, and it was a funny situation, and I caught him on it, and I called him on it at the same time. He goes, well, you're just one of those typical typical Trumpers. And I was just like, what? I was like, whatever, dude. I was like, I didn't even vote for him.
And the crazy thing is, I did.
Yeah.
So how's that for a change?
Well, I mean, it was a funny situation. The reason that I didn't vote is because I was in between moving different places in my town, and I forgot to just, I knew it was coming up, and I just, in the process of moving and being in the grind of trying to get all my shit settled and situated in the new place, it was just one of those things that I didn't even think about it. It just went and passed, and I was just like, by the time I realized it, I was like, oh shit, I didn't go vote. What the fuck? So it's not saying that I wouldn't vote for him, but it was one of those things that, I'm very reserved when it comes to voting for people, because there is a lot of things that I don't agree with that Trump does, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't agree with the other side that does. So I try to find people that lean more into my mindset. Yeah. And like I'm not one of those people that rides hard for anybody, because I realize, I ride hard for me because I know me best. Exactly. So if I find somebody, like one thing that I lined up on Trump with was border. I agreed with him on that. I was 100% riding with him on that issue. One of the issues that I've had a real kind of trouble with is he's said over the years now, he's been a real wishy-washy on gun stuff. Like 1 minute he's really rah, hooray, everybody gets a bazooka type thing. And then the next minute he's like, maybe we can do the whole, the red flag thing, and let's ban this, the bump stock. And it's just like, you're going back and forth way too much for me. So I'm going to take a step back and pay attention closer to you. And are you going to, it's one of those types of things where it's just like, I look at his entire platform. Is it good for me? It could be, I still don't know who I'm going to vote for this coming up. But I'm also one of those people. Yeah, same. I'm also one of those people that I realize that there's more than just two parties. And I think that's another. Right, I think that's another issue where we have to look at too. Is there's more than two parties, and I think that a lot of problems we have is the two-party system.
I think he just needs great water. Sorry, Dominic is making he's making his exit.
Nice talking to you, little man.
But like I think but it's almost like a wasted vote, man. Like to vote third party, and it's like and usually what happens is the liberal vote is the one that gets split. Traditionally speaking, like when people vote third party, the liberal vote is the one that gets split because your staunch conservatives are definitely going right, and your staunch liberals are definitely going left, and the moderates are kind of like, I don't know, but it's usually the moderates are the people in the middle that have it right.
Yeah,
like that this is like, it's a little bit of both. Like, why can't I be pro 2A and go hardcore for 2A, but also be pro-choice? Like, why can't I believe in the death penalty, but also believe that, you know what I mean? Like, why can't I be both? And the moderates are usually like, okay, I'll take this and this and this from this guy's platform, and that from that guy's platform, and I like them both. And there's a third party candidate usually that has exactly what he heard because of the whole like Democrat Republican 2-party system. So it doesn't really go.
I think it's just me. Like, I see the retardedness of both sides, and it's one of those things where, I get where people say it's a wasted vote, but it's also one of those things that, like, the guy that I was talking about a while ago, he legitimately only thought that there was 2 parties.
Oh,
so when we have a society and a culture that don't realize that there's more out there, like, whether they're good or bad parties, like we have, obviously we have the Democrats and the Republicans. There's the Libertarian Party. There's the Green Party. There's a party called the Constitutionalist, the Constitutional Party. And then there's a bunch of left wing. There's the what's it called? The Democratic Socialist of America Party. There's an American Communist Party. There's all of these different parties, and I think you would. While I don't agree with a lot of those, like, I don't agree with communists. It's one of my things that I preach a lot. Is a lot of the shit that we see in society creep in, the cancel culture, the outright, just attacking people and trying to make them the bad people. A lot of that's dealt in Marxism. It's part of the Communist Manifesto, and I think that's, I think while I don't agree at all with any of their thing that they line up on their platforms, I would rather have those guys at the table to be like, because then everybody has a voice, and it's not just one. It's not just my team or this team. And I think in my head and in my thoughts, I think it would kind of mellow out the playing field of, because then we realize that, there's a lot of stuff that we can line up on. If you're a person or a man or a woman that's a very staunch, with the Constitution, and you want to follow that, maybe the Constitution Party would be good for you. They might not win districts, they might not win the presidency, but it all starts by getting that voice out there. When we have people that don't know that there's all these other parties, to me, that's a bigger problem than voting for the lesser of the 2 evils.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I also feel like that these parties should be invited to the debates. Yeah. There should be, like, once there's a clear nominee, you shouldn't have to have like a minimum amount of votes to be invited to like the debates, because then everybody is kind of out.
Yeah, I think the way that, like, they had hold on, you're starting to cut out a little bit. Just hold on, let it pick up back up. Okay, go ahead. It started to I was just saying that. Yeah. No, I was just saying that, like, I mean, because even if there's no chance in hell of these guys winning like the presidency, actual, right? But it does allow for fans, or not fans, but followers or supporters or to be like, I like this guy. And then once that guy endorses, whoever, then, I feel like there needs to be a better way of communicating the message, and they should have equal big stage time as the Democrats and the Republicans. Like, I think we would see, and that's something that I've been pushing it for years now. Being able to have everybody at the table, because my opinion is, some of the biggest reasons why we have a lot of the turmoil and the clashes between groups, whether it be the rich versus poor, black versus white, is because we have that the 2-party duopoly, and it's You know what I mean? And it's the constant, I mean, we see it on the news every day. The Republicans are like, no, it's the Democrats' fault. And the Democrats are like, no, it's the Republicans' fault. And then we get into that hive mindset and we don't realize that there's more out there, and I think
that's the thing, but like,
yeah.
Even like historically, like we're only taught about Democrats and Republicans. Like if you look at like the Civil War, right? Even like one of the major things in history, they're only talking about Democrats and Republicans and how Lincoln was a Republican and then the Democrats but like historically speaking, like that's all what people are taught. So then it's kind of like even now, like you could probably go ask a random like 5 and 6 year old and be like, what they know about politics, and I know Republicans and Democrats, like they.
Yeah. Oh shit. Okay. We lost him. Give me 1 second. Let's see if we can get him back. I'm not sure if he's coming back. We're going to try to get him back. Let's see if he comes back. Other than that, you guys just, it's going to be like a second for you, but, yeah, it's just going to be a second for you if he does come back.
Sorry about that, man. My phone like died like mid.
I was just saying that. I was like, well, he kind of just bounced out. he left. We'll see if we can get him back.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry about that. My phone, like, I was trying to keep an eye on it, but it didn't tell me it was low.
Oh shit, that happens, man. Don't worry about it. It'll splice right together in the post of this. But yeah, you remember what we were talking about?
Yeah, we were talking about the two political parties and like how like kids don't even like know.
Yeah.
That there's like they know Democrat and Republican and that's it. And then it's like they're taught to like hate, or disagree with automatically without like, finding their own truth. Like it's crazy because it's like how many times, like even you growing up as a kid, right? How many times you hear, oh man, the damn Democrats or Republicans, whatever house it was, that you grew up in, and it didn't. No one explained why. It was kind of just like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to hate Republicans. Like,
you see, I didn't. I had the luxury of not growing up in a household when I was a young kid. My mom and my stepdad, they weren't very political. As far as I can remember, I don't remember seeing them or listening to them talk about it. They might have been. It's just one of those things I don't ever remember coming across it. I didn't get super political until, I wouldn't even say until later in life, but the first time I remember people talking about it is when I went to go live with my real dad. And this was after I'd graduated. I'd stayed with him and stuff like that. I stayed with him and he was pretty political. He was always, watching, and he was a pretty staunch conservative and everything like that. And so he was all Democrat this. And then that's where I ventured out and I started, learning more and stuff like that. And back in the day, I rolled with the punk rock crew, metal kids, the little freak kids.
Nice.
So I had their mindset and ideologies and stuff that they had. And maybe I didn't quite understand it, at that time. But then on the flip side, I had a neighbor who was a black man. So, I got into like the hip hop. I got into hip hop and, blues and stuff like that. So I've had a very weird life of where I told somebody the other day, one of the other people I've talked to, I've been able to weave in and out of different areas in life and just be like, I'm like a conglomeration of all of it, like I love hip hop, but I still love punk rock. I love heavy metal. I love country music. I love all kinds of things. As long as I can vibe to it and feel it, I'm cool with it. So that's one of those things. It's where, like I said, I didn't grow up in a very political household. So that's where I've taken bits and pieces from everything that's ever come across me in my life. And that's where I've essentially molded my mindset of what I have today of being, I like hip hop. I love the culture, but if you see me on the street, you'd be like, if you see me on the street, I wouldn't look like one of those people that'd be like, this guy likes hip hop. He's big into hip hop, but like, like in the history and, the beginning and the founding and how it started and everything like that. Like I'm deep in that shit. Like I love it. But like on that flip side, like I'm also deep into if you see me on the street just in passing, you'd be like, that guy likes heavy metal.
Yeah.
That tattoos, always hell. My fucking logo is a fucking skull, like, right. So like it's one of those things. It's synonymous. So like I get read a lot of weird ways. People don't know how to take me because at first glance I'm like just this average person looking like person, but like, nah, man, I'm deep into hip hop. I'm deep into metal. I like fucking comic books. I'm a fucking weird dude all around. I love politics, like I'm a man.
Those are like the best kind of people, man. Like, because like you can speak a little bit to everything, mm-hmm. which makes you relatable to everyone. Right. Yeah. And that's beautiful. Like more people should be like that. Like instead of that being weird, why can't that be the norm? You know what I mean? And like, for people to close their minds off or be like, hey, forget. Like I like country music too, but it took like Jaysin Aldean to like get me to no, hear me out.
I hate you now. I hate you. Get off it. Just leave the podcast.
No. So hear me out on this, right? So I heard my Kind of Party by Jaysin Aldean. Yeah. Right. The song first, and then later the album. Right. And I was like, wait a minute, like this dude's not different from me. Like. I worked all week, cleaned up, clean cut, and clean shaved. I'm like, what? All right, let me see what he's talking about. And then, listen to the album, and I'm just like, okay, cool. And then I was like, well, who else? So then, obviously, Luke Bryan and Brantley Gilbert.
Brantley Gilbert, yeah.
He's the closest to like old school country of these new guys. Mm-hmm. But so, I found him, and then I'm like, okay. So then I go back a little further, and then I listened to actually, at the time, Blake Shelton's Red River Blue had just came out, which is probably one of the greatest albums ever written. I don't care what anyone says. From a lyrical standpoint, like I think that's the one that had like Honeybee and Over and so I'm like, oh, you know what? I like this. So then I go back even further. Okay. And the more that I'm finding, the more that I'm liking, and I'm just like, you know what? And now I'm a fan. Like, so I'll ride in the Jeep with like some of my white friends. I'll go to like a bonfire and we'll burn some wood. And, I'll own a mossy oak hoodie and shit like that.
Right.
But why not be that way? What says that I can't do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there shouldn't be like a closed mindedness to it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a like you said, like I've always found I'm better suited in being able to try to understand, like it's coming from somebody who never really I didn't understand myself as a person for years, I struggled with mental health and stuff like that, and being closed off and keeping shit held down and stuff like that.
Water.
And when I finally busted down that wall to find myself, and I realized, I was just like, man, like, why do I have to have that, that closed off mentality? And that's where I was just like, and that's where it all blew up. Like I've always liked all of those different things, but at times there's things in my life that would pull me to different areas. And it's just like, man, like, and that goes with the being closed off and closed minded about things. But then when I finally broke down that wall, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to do me. I'm going to ride with what I like, and I'm going to do what I like. And my mindset in life and the way that I live my life and everything changed for me. And I realized that I could be deep in certain areas, no matter what I wanted to, no matter what it was, whether it was, culturally inappropriate or, some, like you say, there's a lot of people in hip hop that, that say, white people are a guest in hip hop, that white people are a guest in hip hop and they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. And I'm just like, okay, I get it. I understand it, and to me, that's that closed off mindset. I don't like it. I understand it. I get it. But it's music. It's supposed to be for everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's not mine. It's not yours. It's
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like people who think that way, are the problem.
Oh yeah.
Like if it like at worst, right? If you were a selfish asshole, right, and you'd be like, oh, white people have no place in hip hop. If that was your mentality, right? Mm-hmm. Like, why do you give a fuck? Like a white person liking hip hop is just another person to buy your brother's album. So even if you were a selfish like asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like there's you can find something self-serving in almost everything.
But oh yeah.
What I mean is like those types of people are part of the problem. And if you want to have your beliefs in your house, in your basement, in your closet, mm-hmm. do whatever you're gonna do. But in public, be a decent human being. Like don't you don't have to comment on everything. You don't have to like or disapprove or disagree. Mm-hmm. Or that's why even when it comes to like social media now, like I don't really read too much. I kind of just go on there, post what I want to post, and just leave.
Yeah.
But I'll scroll down maybe 10, 15, 20 posts tops, mm-hmm. like especially on Facebook. Like Twitter has become unbearable.
Oh God,
the last week or so.
Yeah. The only thing, and I tell this to everybody just because I find it hilarious. I don't go on Twitter for any other reason to make fun of political figures. That's the only reason I go on there. Like I don't comment on anybody's stuff really, but like there was this comment. Who was it? Meghan McCain, who was John McCain's daughter. Mm. She made a post. She made a post on her Twitter a couple weeks ago. It's something along the lines of, because she lives up in New York, in the New York area or something like that, and she said something about Cuomo and something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm devastated. The place where I live at looks demolished and, essentially like bombs were dropped on it, something along those lines." And I was just like, I was never really a big fan of John McCain. So I was just like, oh, kind of like the bombs that, your dad helped drop on all those, just stuff like that. So like, I do shit like that because it's funny to me. And that's my only purpose on Twitter is to shit post and troll on people.
Well, you know what I mean? Like obviously for us, it's like a marketing tool, right? So then, you're a part of like these subcultures, right? Like, like wrestling Twitter. You heard about that. Like,
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So like recently, like, you can't even like, you're almost shamed if you promote anything marketing on there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, buy my new t-shirt. Oh man, you don't think fucking Black Lives Matter? You suck. What?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm just trying to make some money, man. Like, what are you saying right now?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at my Twitter's literally just links to my website. Cause like anytime I post something new on my website, it automatically sends out a link to that. Like say today I posted a DVD on there. It was a wrestling DVD. And so I posted a link to the thing. It's that and then shit posting. And that's all my Twitter is.
Nice.
I don't have conversations. It's just the only time I have a conversation is if somebody comments back.
Yeah, I wish my life was that simple. Like it's and like for instance, so like Facebook, like I said, I can probably only get through like 25 posts, and then I'm just like, you know what, I'm done. I'm logging out.
Yeah.
And then Twitter, I haven't been on Twitter in like 3 days because I was like, you know what, I can't because every top of the news feed there's somebody else getting called out about some dumb shit, and you're just like, yikes.
Yeah.
Like, so I kind of like unplugged. Like the only thing safe right now is Instagram because it's only pictures. It's like there's no reading required. It's just like, hey, here you go.
I actually have a group. I can't remember if I sent you an invite to it. It's called the Thumbs Down Crew. A little shameless self-promotion here. I have a group. It's on Facebook. It's called the Thumbs Down Crew. It's something that I did early on in the Jaysin Static experience. It was all live streams. So it was live streams on my YouTube, and I had the wild hair up my ass one night, and I had a friend. He was really, like, oh, thumbs up, be, like every fucking YouTuber does, thumbs up, da 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 da. And I got to drinking some whiskey one night, and I was like, fuck it, let's go live. and do an episode of the show. And I was just like, this show, I want nothing but thumbs down on it. And then
Nice.
I think it was my buddy. I think it was the dude I mentioned, Tyler. I believe it might have been him. He mentioned thumbs. He goes, so are we having a thumbs down crew? I think it was him that named it. I can't remember. But since he's a big fan of Motley Crue, I put crew as in crew, because of the way that Motley Crue spells it. So I actually have a Facebook group. I'll send you the link to it later. And literally it's just people in there shit posting. They post memes. I promote the show in there. It's essentially a platform for people to promote themselves, also while having fun shit posting with people that don't really get too wild and crazy. Sometimes we post some wild and crazy memes, like my friend. I did an episode of the podcast with her, Darlene, and we had she's big into like the BDSM and sex culture type stuff. So we had a big long conversation with that. So we had a big long conversation about that stuff, and that's all the types of memes that she posts in there. So it's a big shit fest of like funny memes of all sides, of just making fun of everything and everybody just having a good time being, and shit posting and promoting themselves. And
that's what it should be, man.
If I'm on Facebook, that's where I spend most of my time at is. Yeah,
dude. I feel like, I don't know, man. It's like every time I open one of these apps for like social media, it's like someone twisting a dagger, like even further.
Oh God, it's so awful sometimes. It's draining.
But you can't not do it. Like, know what I mean? It's like a train wreck. Like you want to leave it alone, but you can't look away. Like you're just like, fuck, man.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's one of those things where I get on there and I'll find myself in that trap, and I'll be like, oh, I really want to comment on this. And then I start typing something out, and I'm just like, do I really want to spend the next 4 days commenting on this? Right. So I find myself, backing off a lot of things. And I just relegate my stuff to, like, I don't try to have these long drawn out conversations on other posts. So that's when I synchronize it to my thing. That way I don't have to worry about everything else.
Yeah.
And I just synchronize everything down into my own little world. And if people want to comment on, and that's why I post a lot of different stuff. I post a lot of political stuff because I want people's opinions on stuff. Because like I said, it helps me better understand everything and other sides. And so, like, I posted something the other day. Who was it? Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But it was a political meme, and it was this lady. She's a libertarian. She's kind of like the libertarian president or candidate. And I don't line up with her on everything. She has a very bad opinion of borders. She's like an open border type person. But there was a lot of other things. There's a lot of other things that I was okay with. So I just posted it just to see what people would say. And it was, I actually read it out to you. Pardon all non-violent offenders and victimless crimes. I was like, okay, maybe I can understand it. I can understand the position, maybe. And then another one was repeal all laws for victimless crimes, end qualified immunity for law enforcement. I can get with that one. End the failed war on drugs, end militarization of the police, end civil asset forfeiture, end mandatory minimum sentences, and end the ATF. So it was a big, long encompassing of all kinds of end stuff. So I wanted to get people's opinions and thoughts on it because there's some of those things that I did agree with. And then one dude just went to town, and he's just like, oh, it's just, this is the only way, Trump the only way, da 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 da. And I'm just like, guy, if you don't do it, then you're a part of the problem. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, why are you doing this to me? Like, you're making me get into this bag. You're making me get into my bag, essentially. Like, and I told, and essentially I came out and I was just like, look, dude, I was like, I'm not against Trump. I go, but to say that, and these are the things that I wanted to catch people on because I do want to have conversations because like,
oh, Dominic's back with a wardrobe change.
Dominic, what's up, my man? How you doing, brother? He's like, get this guy away from me. I know, I've had enough of him.
He's obsessed with ceiling fans, man. I don't know.
It's the spinning. It's probably the spinning.
No, it's sitting still and it pisses him off. Like I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, but yeah, essentially it was just, it was one of those things where I was just like, okay, like I got to get away from this because like I'm not going to make any headway, so.
Well, I mean, like I feel like a lot of people don't differentiate too, like, right? So like when you say you're a part of the problem, no, I'm not a part of the problem, I'm a part of your problem. Like there's
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like there and it's too many blanket statements thrown around.
Yeah.
And no, generally like, oh, this person is a like so I had a friend, right, who found out that I voted for Trump in the last election,
Mhm.
right? And every time I would say something, oh, it's because you're a Trump supporter, and I was like, what? No, that's the opposite of what he said. I'm choosing the opposite side just because I vote for a guy or a woman doesn't mean that like I 100% believe everything that they say. They just have the most.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah.
it's like
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking tally marks, but like uh. But like, I mean, it was crazy. Like, I got like off the wall jokes. It was kind of like, "Oh, you probably date only white women, huh? You don't date like, dude, it was nuts. Like, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
literally when that got out that it happened that I voted for Trump. Like, people were like, "Oh," they looked at me like I was a traitor to the race, and you're just like, "What? Like,
Yeah.
why is this a thing?"
That's something that I can't speak. It's something I've seen that and it's just like I don't understand it. Like help me as somebody of the opposite race. Help me to understand something like that because like me as a white person, like if somebody votes for fucking Clinton or something like that, I'm not gonna be like you're a race traitor type thing. What's that? What's that? I guess that deep rooted mindset in the black community that you know what I mean? Like why would that automatically make you a traitor essentially?
Well, I mean, so black people, majority. Let me not make a blanket statement and be a
Right.
hypocrite.
Yeah.
Right?
Fucking hypocrite.
So like a lot of black people automatically vote Democrat, right? Because their mom was a Democrat and their dad was a Democrat, or
Right.
their grandparents, and so a lot of people don't even consider the other platform. In terms of like, all right, so my things were Hillary Clinton should be in jail, right? And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and well, I mean that's just personal opinion. So when
That's my opinion too. I hold that opinion about her too. Yeah.
So when I was making a decision to vote, it's like, well, if my conscience says that I think that she should be in jail, then I'm not going to vote for her, right?
Right.
So, and then I look at Trump's platform, and I'm like, okay, right, this guy is definitely not the sharpest grade of weed in the dispensary, nor is he the sharpest knife in the drawer. When it comes to like speech making,
Right.
and somebody probably shut down his Twitter account, and
He sets him off the wall shit.
Yeah, like he blocked me at one time. I'll get into that after this. He and so it's kind of like so I made like the informed voter decision. Right. So when that happened, I think the way it came out was I was in the office and I was like, no, I didn't vote for her. And they were like, well, you did vote, right? Of course I did. So then it came out, and then so when that happens, like a lot of black people like don't even consider like the other platform.
Right.
Like it's never it's never even brought into question.
Okay.
So then when it's like, so when I talk to my friends, like they either don't want to talk about it with me because I'm coming with like facts, like
right.
like hey, this and this and this happened, and like before COVID happened, I was explaining something. I was just like, you know what? Before COVID, statistically speaking, Trump is the best president this country's ever had. Prior to COVID, I mean, if you're going strictly by numbers, right? Like, but he doesn't make it easy. This particular president does not make it easy because he says a lot of dumb shit and like he does a lot of dumb shit. But like when it comes to making money or stimulating an economy, like he's brilliant. He falls along the same line. So, but I can't explain that to someone that is ignorant of the facts, or unwilling to have a debate. I won't argue with anybody about anything, but I'll discuss or debate anybody about everything.
Right.
Right. So like, if it's gonna become heated and you're a traitor, like I'm not here for that. Right.
Yeah.
Let's discuss like why.
Yeah.
And it wasn't up until what was it? 2004 maybe. Yeah, 2004 was the first time I voted.
Mm-hmm.
That I even began to look at like the other side, because I got one side of my family that's all, we've got to get these Democrats in the office, man. And like, so then I started to do research, and people were like, Clinton's the best president. No, he wasn't. Statistically, he was fucked up.
Yeah.
He didn't accomplish anything, and he raised taxes. Like, no, this is bad.
Yeah.
And so then it started to make me question like everything.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't, especially in the black community. It's just like anybody but a Republican. And then you give the track record where like a lot of remarks are. I'll go backwards. I'll go backwards until Reagan. So Trump makes a lot of comments that can be perceived as insightful or racist, right? I'm not saying I don't know his intent behind them,
right?
But you know what I mean. Like, it definitely makes noise or knocks on that kind of door.
Yeah.
You had Bush Jr. that went into Iraq, right? I mean, 9/11 happened on his watch, but he went into Iraq. But a lot of people don't dig into the facts that he didn't make that decision ignorantly, like that he had intel supporting,
right?
What he wanted to do. But they don't do that, and then all people look at is like the death toll. Oh, we went into Iraq, all about that oil because the Bush family's in oil. Like, how do you make that correlation? Like, why is that? I'm pretty sure that had something to do with it, but like he can't do it for personal gain. It had to do with the interest per. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't dig into the weeds with that. And then before him, you had Bush Senior.
Yeah.
Which,
he was kind of a failed. He only had one term. He was kind of a failed. He had a lot of stroke because he was coming off the heels of Reagan. So everybody thought he was going to be. Everybody thought he was going to be the next Reagan. But when they realized that he wasn't the next Reagan, and then Desert Storm and all that stuff happened, those tensions started flaring up back then. And it was just like, get out of here. And then that's when Clinton came in.
Yeah, then you had Reagan, who a lot of people, the war on drugs, the Reaganomics, trickle down economics, and everything like that. So like, there's black people have a lot of hostility towards the Republican Party based off of the last four, right? But it should be an individual judged off of merit, and not basically just because, oh man, this party's been fucking us over for a long time. Yeah, and it's like the mentality that is being had, and it's crazy because there's a crazy misconception in the black community that Republicans are only for rich people. Like it's weird.
Yeah, and that's coming from somebody that's on the outside, and I'm just like, man, like like I've tried to talk to people and stuff like that. It's just because like we've said previously, like I look at both sides, and I'm just like, man, both of these guys, both of these sides have done so much damage to everybody, whether it be the black community or the white community. And it's just like, it's one of those things that makes it, I'm not saying that I wouldn't vote for him or I don't vote for him, but it's one of those things that it really puts the screws to me, because it's just like, like, because I know it's such a detriment to us, but it's just like, you see what I'm trying to say? Because like between the trickle down economics, the high taxation of going back and forth, and then them throwing in other laws of fees, and like I said, the taxing us and essentially oppressing us from all sides, through taxes and regulations and stuff like that. And I try to explain this to people, and they're like, well, you remember this one time that this one Republican did this, or you remember that one time that this one Democrat did this, and I'm just like, what? I'm telling you that they both do it, and then they're like, no.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, man, it's as being as deep into politics as I am, of trying to talk to people from both sides. It's like it's like banging my head against the wall to try to get people to understand, like, they're really fucking the both of us, like all communities.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like I said, like no one, most people don't take the time to do like the research, right? Like, so for instance, during the primaries of the last presidential election, Mitt Romney was in the running, right? And Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts, which is my home state. I was born and bred there. You know what I mean? And he was a Republican governor in a traditionally blue state, and he did extremely well for not only Massachusetts, but like not only Boston, but Massachusetts as a whole. And so like he automatically had like a fan like in me when it happened. But then people were like, oh, he's Mormon. I don't know. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Can he make money? Is he going to put money in your pocket?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. Like, I think a lot of people want to force their beliefs and opinions onto other people instead of worrying about what's best for them. Because if we focus on what's good for us respectively, then the collective is better for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because you have more potential. You have more potential to grow when you focus on yourself. Like, like I got to that point where, like I'm at the point in my life to where I'm just like, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna focus on me. I'm gonna grow my shit. And if people come along, if people join me, cool. If they don't, cool. But I'm not collectively going out there trying to forcibly change anybody's mind. I just want to understand you as a person, and I think that's a lot of people get that misconstrued because, like I go out there and I preach about fucking taxes and fucking how they're screwing us and keeping us poor with taxes and shit like that. You might have all the money in the world. You might be a very well-off person, but if you don't understand the fact that that we pay up to 97 different types of taxes and fees to the government, which while you might be more well off on a certain part of society, that might hurt somebody else.
Yep.
And that's the only thing that I really try to bang into people's heads, and that I'll push home with people, because that's one thing that I'm not like. It's one of those things, those hills that I'll die on. Like I'll argue anybody. I'll argue with anybody about that stuff, but.
I mean, it's crazy. Like it actually paying taxes is unconstitutional. Like, so I mean, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, maybe we could do another one about tax.
yeah. I mean, let's do the government pissing us off about stuff, or stuff that the government keeps from you, or something like that. We'll revisit that. But yeah, man, like it's weird that. Like I said, I just think that if everyone was themselves unapologetically, right, and tend to be good people, then the world would be better. The answer is literally looking in the mirror, staring back at you, like, I'm gonna fix my part, and I'm not gonna impose my beliefs upon anybody else. If everybody took that stance, then like we'd be fine. Yeah,
well, I have the opinion. I get shit for this a lot. And it's probably one of the opinions that I get more shit on it about is like me personally as a person, I'm not cool. I'm not cool with abortion. I'm not cool with it. My main thing is I don't want the government to pay for it. But say you and your old lady, or Betty across the street, or Susie down the street, if she does it, it's not my life. I don't care. I just don't want the government to pay for it. And I get so much shit for that. And they're like, how do you not care? Because it's not my life. What this person does across the street, what she does in her own life, it does not affect me. Where it affects me is when the government starts to pay for it.
Right, and you're absolutely right. Like I'm like personally, like, and here's another one of those things. Like I think with issues like that, you can't be like an absolutist, right? For instance, personally, like as a Christian man, I believe that abortion is murder, right?
Yeah, but
I also support the right to choose to do with your own body, right? So like, it's kind of like I don't agree with you, but I support you. I don't agree with you, but I'll support you. you can't tell a woman what to do with her body. Like you can't. You just can't do it. But like you said, if taxpayer dollars are going to fund this, wait, hold on, that's a horse of a different color right there.
Yeah.
Like, you're absolutely correct on that. Like,
yeah, and it's one, and I always, because if you really look at the thick of all of it, it always goes back to taxes, because it's one of those things. It's like, I don't care what a person does, but is my tax money going to it? You know, like,
right.
There's another thing that always gets me in trouble with people is it's like, when it comes to drugs and legalization of stuff, like, I don't care about pot. If somebody wants to smoke pot, go ahead and do it. Do your thing. But I'm also of the ilk of, if somebody wants to do any of the other shit, the harder shit, I don't care. Do what you want to do. But am I going to have to fund anything for you?
Yeah, like, am I supporting your rehab once you decide to get clean?
Yeah.
Now we have a problem.
Yeah, and it always goes back to that. I've been. Oh my God. Like, I told somebody once, I go, I'm just for legalizing everything. Fuck it. I don't care. If people want to do shit, because ultimately, and I say that because if people want to do it, whether it's banned or outlawed or whatever, they're going to do it anyways. So you might as well do it. And hell, the only tax that I'm actually okay with is a sales tax. That's the only tax that I'm okay with, because you're buying the good. I'm like, okay, I want to buy this. Okay, tax it. I mutually agreed to buy this from you. So that means I'm okay with it. I'm okay with a percentage being taken out. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Because it's voluntary. Yeah. If it's not voluntary,
exactly.
If it's not voluntary, I don't care about it. Like, my personal property tax, why the fuck do we have to pay our personal property tax? I own that property. The government, you don't own that property. The government, you don't own that. Why do I have to pay you for my stuff?
Dude, in Massachusetts, there's an excise tax where you have to pay money to drive on the road. Like, it's like, it's based off of like the make and model of your car and the year that it was created. And you have to pay like anywhere from like 90 to like $150 every year. It's like that's for privilege of using the road, and
that's fucking stupid.
They'll hold renewal of your license and everything for it, dude. Like, it's nuts.
I'll see if I can find that fucking link for the. It'll fucking flip your wig, dude, for real. Like, I'll send you that link. I'll try to find that link for the whole 97 different types of taxes thing. You're gonna be like, what? I told somebody that the other day. It was a couple weeks ago, actually. The bug guy come in the restaurant, because we have a guy that comes in every month and sprays and makes sure everything's tidy and neat and clean. And we got to talking about taxes and stuff like that. And I go, do you know? And I just popped off. I go, do you know we pay 97 different types of taxes and fees? And he's like, what? What? And he's like, you're going to make me motherfucking depressed, aren't you? And he goes, text me that link. Let me know what it is, because I want to find out about all this shit. And that's one thing I was like, people don't fucking realize how much that we pay the government just to be able to live. And like you said, to me, it's unconstitutional.
No, it definitely is. Like, especially because I don't have a say in what it goes to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like take I don't know. And here's another hot button issue. Take like welfare, right? Like, like if you gave me the option to pay into welfare, I probably would.
Yeah.
Like, just because I'm a good person.
Yeah.
But the fact that you take money from my check and it goes there, like, it makes me mad. Like, and it's weird. Like I probably would help these people, like, by myself.
Yeah.
But,
and I think that's where at one point in society before 1913, when they implemented the income tax and they started getting real heavy into taxes with the, because in 1913 is when they signed legislation for the income tax. That, and they also the Federal Reserve was instituted in 1913, where essentially it gives the government free reign to print and do whatever they want with the fucking money. They don't have to have the debt, and it's a big thing. It's a long conversation to fucking get into something like that. But I'll actually send you a link for explaining that 1913 Federal Reserve type shit. But that's when taxes started to get more heavy, because they realized that they could make they can make a lot of money off of us, but they can also hold us down a lot. Because if you really look deep back into the, history, everything changed. From the way that society was before then. If you take out the whole racial aspects, and you just look on the economic levels, everything changed back in 1913. A lot of institutions changed. Just a couple years later, the UN was founded. All of these different organizations were founded. A lot of shit changed, and I tell people I've told people for the longest time, if you really look deep into things, the government essentially switched. It went from being for the people, essentially, minus the racial components of it, to being essentially a duopoly of power and control, and because that's when everything started changing. More laws, more regulations. Everything back before 1913 was pretty much everybody had a gun. Everybody was free to own whatever the hell they wanted to own. There was some places that still had cannons and fucking black powder sheds and shit like that. Like, you can't have any of that shit nowadays.
Yeah.
And then in the 20s, with the advents of the mafias and the big like your babyface Nelsons and your all of those people, of the 1920s and 30s, all of those, gangsters, the Capones and stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's when they started implementing all the, gun laws and stuff like that. But hell, they even implemented gun laws after Lincoln, essentially wrote the Emancipation Proclamation and freed the slaves and all that stuff. Gun control started heavy right after that. And I've told people, I had a lady on a couple weeks ago, a gun advocate, Second Amendment advocate, black lady, and it's a funny story, man. I've been trying to get people to understand something about the Second Amendment, and people, especially people that are like, gun control now, get rid of all guns. And I'm like, you realize that gun control, the whole idea of gun control as a whole was literally built on racism and the keeping of people, whether it be minorities or different people, away from the power of what being able to protect yourself is. The colonial days, they had the kings, they had implementing decrees of shoot on sight, of Native Americans, because they thought they were savages, and they didn't want them to get the hold of that. And then after, that was before, and then we founded the country, or that they founded the country, and then after the slaves, after slavery was abolished and everything like that, another wave of gun control came around, and it came on the heels of the KKK and people of those ilk being like, oh man, well, we don't want the black man to have guns, because if they have guns, they can protect themselves. It was literally, that's what it was founded in. So now my thing to do is to shut people down immediately. And when I hear somebody talking about like that, like I had a girl, I was talking to her in a group that I'm a member of, and she was a little young white girl, 20-something-year-old. And she was doing a protest, Black Lives Matter protest and everything like that. And one of her, it was Black Lives Matter, gun control now, healthcare is a human right, abortion is healthcare, da 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 da. Go down the line of talking points.
Okay.
And I go, and this is the only thing I said to her. I go, you realize, you cannot be for the betterment of black culture and or black people if you're pushing gun control. And I sent her a link to something, and I go, gun control and the whole idea of gun control is the aspect of controlling people, to make those people not be able to protect themselves. I go, it was literally rooted in that deep-seated thing that you say that you hate. It was rooted in racism. The KKK was the one that was pushing that stuff, was gun control at one point in time. I go, so you
That's
can't,
crazy.
I was like, you can't be for the betterment of black people in society as a whole. I was like, and matter of fact, I go, you can't even say Black Lives Matter if you push this. She deleted the post. And I'm like, hey, I was like, if you're going to push stuff, you got to realize, because, you know, in society and culture today, they're like, you know, they're so hard on things, you know, like, you know, if you're a Republican, you're racist because the party switched and type
Right.
thing. And then, and this is why I use certain things like that. And I'm just like, well, if this is the game that we're going to play with each other, then this makes you that racist that you say that you hate because you believe in this. And me, a lot of times it turns people in it, and then they'll slide in my DM and they'll be like, oh, well, you know, let me explain more. This girl didn't do that, by the way, but it's one of those things. It's just like, man, like I want to be for everything and I want to be for people, but I also want people to understand, like, there's those very minute things of, you know, making those blanket statements across everybody without actually knowing who the actual person is as a person. Like, I say things like that to try to get people to be like, slide in the DM and be like, okay, what's the deal with this? Let me know. So I make those grandiose statements of, well, now you're the racist because you believe in this. I say those things to try to get people to talk to me, but most of the time, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I don't know, like, I just don't know sometimes.
Well, nobody wants to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like, and it sucks because, yeah, like nobody wants to look in the mirror and be honest with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone else to call them out on something that they're coming out saying that they hate is even, it magnifies that feeling, because it's kind of like, say if I came out and I was like, you know what, I am pro gay whites. Well, you can't punch that guy in the face and call him that word that you called him and then claim this. Oh yeah, about that. Well, that guy deserves to be punched. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. Yeah. You can't do it. And no one likes to face that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but again, to circle back to something that I said at the very beginning of this conversation, it's about like knowing yourself and what it is that you believe and what your code is. And once that happens, research it and know and be able to defend why you feel the way that you feel. Not that you should have to, but in the event that you have to. Yeah. Then
everybody's got a code, man. I think that's a good it's a good thing for anybody to stand on. You know, you got to know yourself, and you got to be willing to look into yourself too. That's a whole nother topic for another discussion. Is the amount of people that are afraid to look down into the deepest, darkest depths of their souls and their beings and realizing who they are as a person. So many people don't want to do that.
Yeah, because it's difficult, man, and you run into some painful shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like for instance, I think before you hit the record button, we were talking about, people were doing dumb shit and like saying dumb shit, and when you have to face yourself, you're like, did I really mean that? Like, why did I say that? Why did I think this is okay to say? And you can uncover some like painful stuff that a lot of people just don't want to deal with. Yeah. They prefer to put a Band-Aid over the bullet hole, so to speak. You know what I mean? And just keep going. And hey, it stops the blood for now. Like, fuck the infection. It doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's difficult. That's a lot. That's a tall order to ask people. I'm not saying that, it's easy, but it's necessary for sure.
Oh yeah. It's definitely, I've talked to the people that follow me for 100 plus episodes now. And that's something that's another thing that I try to beat it into their heads, essentially, by saying it all the time. It's one of the many things that I talk about all the time is being well within yourself, being able to love yourself, and being able to realize that just because you might have had like a darker past, or, some underlying issues, say you were abused as a kid, or you just grew up in a really bad, lifestyle. I go, that doesn't mean that you can't be a better person. It doesn't mean that you can't do things, but you do have to realize that sometimes those bad things that happen in your life could be those building blocks of being able to really find yourself and love yourself, because I mean, hell, a lot of the shit, you got to love yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have faith in yourself. You got to have confidence in yourself. And a lot of that goes back to being able to love yourself first. And then you can love other people and be more understanding towards other people.
Absolutely. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like,
yeah. And I always tell people, I go, it's fucking hard. I'm never going to say it's going to be easy for people to do. And I try to make people understand that, like, it's hard. What might work for me might be different for you. But it's one of those things that we've got to, I think it's one of those things that's good to try to instill into kids, of being able to, say they grow up in a bad home, or, even if you're raising kids, I don't have no kids. So this is just coming from somebody that doesn't have kids. I think it's a good, idea to try to instill into kids, into the next generation, of being able to love yourself no matter where you come from, and realize that with the power of oneself, one's mind, body, and soul, that you can do just about anything if you push your mind to it. It's going to be hard to do it, but if you instill something like that into people, I think you're going to see a big change in society as a whole if we're able to instill those types of ideas into people's heads. How we do that, I don't know.
I think the kids, like the kids today, like, the 5 to 12-year-old range now, mm-hmm. I think they're going to get it right. They're going to be the ones to get it right. I was talking to like this kid, like, at a show one day, and it was something, and it was like, hey, such and such, you see the black guy over there? Don't say that. That's wrong. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely correct. Like, you hear what I'm saying? And yeah. And so, like, they're I think now in school they're going like colorless, you know what I mean, and calling people by their actual nationalities, and that's great. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, hey, this black kid, or that white kid, or that Asian kid, like, what I mean? It's kind of like, so I think with each passing generation, we're becoming better and better.
Yeah, I think in time, if we can get the advent of the Marxism, if we can get that out of the way,
good luck.
If we can get that one little aspect out of the way, I think we as a society would be by far, a lot better off. And I think years down the road, if we can stop that one little aspect, I think we'd be a lot better as people. What do you? I do have a question. It's gonna be a question I'm gonna start asking people, because it's a really off the wall question, and I like to see people's reaction to it. It's the first time I asked it was the last podcast I just recorded a minute ago. So it's just a funny question. It's something to get off the politics, because we've been grinding on politics for a while.
Oh yeah, we have.
What do you think is the biggest mammal that you can knock out with one punch?
Mammal. It's a human.
A human? Animal wise, you don't think you can knock out an animal in one punch? Besides a human.
I don't think I could knock out anything bigger than a human with one punch.
Okay. I had somebody say a koala. But
koalas aren't bigger than humans, I don't think.
No.
Right?
No, they're not.
Is a koala a mammal even?
I believe so. It might be. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, man.
It's just it's one of those funny it's one of those funny things. It's just like, I wonder what it could be.
That's nuts. You should open with that.
Well, I figured it would be a funny change up to kind of simmer the conversation, not simmer it down, but kind of tail it down a little bit and get more.
I hit hard though, so like I don't know. I could probably knock out a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I hit hard. Like I don't know. Bro, I'm gonna stick with human right now. That seems like the most intelligent answer. Okay.
All right, man. All right. Couple more wrestling questions. Who do you think besides you, because most people's going to put themselves over. I know how the boys are. Who do you think is the best best thing going in wrestling today on any level, whether it be WWE, AEW, just one person. Who do you think is the best guy out there today?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask for criteria. Like, you mean like drawing power, athlete, wrestler? Like what are you saying?
Overall, all encompassing. Because when we break it down into, when we break it down into drawing power, when we break it down into athletic ability, then the scope changes. With the all encompassing, it'd be like the top dog of the top dog in all of professional wrestling. Essentially being like, okay, me personally, I think the old days, Ric Flair, like we said back, top.
Okay.
So all encompassing, all over everything. Like, who do you think is the best pound for pound overall?
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes? Okay.
Yep. Like, in addition to like fantastic ring work, obviously, the man literally left the largest wrestling company in the world and became its rival. Like, it's unbelievable what he did, and I think a lot of us never thought that we'd see one, let alone 3, 4, 5 alternatives to the WWE. And Cody, he left there. He did some stuff with New Japan. He did some stuff with Ring of Honor, and now he's essentially like the executive vice president of his own.
Yeah.
Of his own, like, so he went from being unmarketable to very marketable, and not only that, but I'm going to be an executive in my own place. So right now, it's got to be him. Okay.
And I wouldn't argue with that. I would not argue with that. Dude's I've always thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that I always wished, like me, a lot of people didn't like the Stardust character. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I fucking loved it. Like, he reminded me, oddly enough, he reminded me of Dusty back then, because he was dealt a shit sandwich to get it over, because it was one of those, it was kind of a corny, on the face of it, when you look at it, it was kind of a corny gimmick, but he made it work, and he made it work very, very well. Like, he actually dove into the fucking character, and that's where he really won me over with that character. And I don't think if it wasn't for that character and him doing that as well as he did, I don't think I would have been on board with you saying that it was Cody Rhodes, because it was that character alone that got me on board with Cody Rhodes. Like, beforehand, I was just like, okay. But when I seen how he dove into that character and actually made it work for him, I was like, that's what it takes.
Yeah, but he was a victim of booking before that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, he could always go.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in the ring, you know what I mean? And then, but, he got dealt like shit sandwiches for booking.
Yeah.
And then the Stardust thing kind of like was like creative, like, here, just go hang out with your brother and, do something.
Yeah.
And then, but I also think that it showed versatility and a willingness to adapt for him. Because Cody easily could have been in Randy Orton's shoes, or a good feud with Orton for like the IC title, type deal, and obviously, later in his career, most recently, he's proved that he's like world champion type material. But it's I don't know, man. He made the best out of a bad situation just because he could. Well, and I think that taught him a lot about himself too.
Yeah, well, and that's why I said it reminded me of Dusty, because when Dusty came to the WWE, they dropped him in the polka dots, and everybody thought it was going to be, everybody now they look back and they're like, the WWE doing that to Dusty, because Dusty was a big draw when he came in. They put him in the polka dots to try to make him, be a little bit more hokey and everything like that. But Dusty fucking made it work. And now that's probably, besides, the old Dusty, the old promos that Dusty did back in the day, that's probably one of the most beloved Dustys, one of the most beloved Dusty gimmicks.
Well, Dusty, yeah,
well, and that's what I meant by, like, it reminded me of Dusty on that sense, because he was dealt a bad hand, but he made it work, and he realized that it was a bad hand, but he made it work. and it gave him the initiative to try, and it brought out more in him. Essentially, what I was saying is, like, I always knew he was a great worker and he was a good talker, but just the concept of that Stardust and the promos that he had to do, it gave me more to, essentially, you know what I mean? It gave me more to relate to him to, besides just being the good worker.
Oh, for sure. But that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's a lot of people like, for instance, Apollo Crews, when he was UA Nation on the indie scene.
Yeah.
Fucking phenomenal matches.
Yeah.
Same with like Cedric Alexander, Ricochet, right? You got all these guys with all this athleticism that become the victim of booking. I think WWE has created its own problem in a sense that it has too much talent and not enough airtime.
Yeah.
To do enough with them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like I'd almost wish they would, instead of just, Raw and SmackDown, like they'll split the brands again. Like, you know what I mean? But like, don't make them interconnect. I don't want to see like a crossover or whatever. Like, there's nothing, you can be like the umbrella, but SmackDown becomes its own company and Raw becomes its own company, and you know what I mean? And they one take the East Coast, one take the West Coast, like that type of deal. Like, back in the olden days, and that way, everybody gets.
Yeah. What do you? This is a question I asked somebody else. What do you think about the concept of titles changing so much and so often, and particularly the heavyweight title? Now, I preface that by saying I realize, like, say your TV titles, your IC titles, your cruiserweight titles, those are workhorse titles to me, and those are titles that could be those titles that change often and quite a bit. But the heavyweight title to me is something that's more prestigious, and I don't think it should be one of those titles that goes back and forth. And when you get into it and you have guys that have been 13, 14, 15, 16 time champion, and you have, say, like 20 of those people on the show, I think it diminishes the prestige of what a heavyweight champion should be. What say you about that? In particular, the heavyweight champion.
Well, I mean, but it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, how many people actually have enough character depth to maintain it for like years?
Yeah.
Right. When back in the day, you'd have like 500-600 day reigns as champion, because there wasn't that much exposure, right? And back in the day, they used to cut TV off on us. You remember when they would be like,
that's another thing I wish they'd start doing.
At the dramatic point of the match, they'd be like, oh, let's say Cody is feuding with who's he feuding with right now?
Isn't it MJ? Is he still feuding with MJF?
Is it MJF? It may be no, he's feuding with no, it is. No, yeah. So let's say, and you'd say and Cody's in the match with Wardlow right now, because he and MJF can't touch, and they're still like slow cooking this thing,
right?
Like, whatever happened to the days of like Cody hits him with the finishing move, and you see MJF walking down, stepping through the ropes, and we're out of time, folks, we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
like that kind of thing, right? And they shut TV off on us. And you had to like either be at the next town or wait for the wrestling magazine to come out to figure out what happened once the show went off. But
that's another thing I wish wrestling would go back to. Like, it was that thing that made you want to watch it every week. Like, nowadays, like, besides the whole COVID thing, like, there's nothing, like, I still watch a lot of wrestling, but it's also one of those things. It's just like, there's not very many that keeps my eye, like, that makes me want to go back and watch it every week religiously.
And I think that's what like a heavyweight champion is supposed to do. Like when Flair was world champ, man, you wanted to see, I wanted to see Flair talk shit, right? Like, I wanted to know what he was going to say next. I wanted to see Steamboat come out and whip his ass, and with him cheat to get the win in the end, or was it DiBiase they used to feud with back in like 8? So like, I wanted to see like Flair talk shit. I wanted to see him get his ass kicked, but still come out and win. Yeah. But every week I'd come out and I'd want to hear what excuse he had for like Arn or Tully, like coming out to like help him. Oh, I didn't really need his help. I just wanted to hear what the excuse was going to be. But like nowadays, it's more like who has the charisma to carry a belt for 600 days. Like who can do that? And since no one can, like the title has to change. So I guess my thoughts about it is like times have changed, but at the same time, like they the company has gotten away from what made wrestling special, I think.
Okay.
Companies, because you fall in love with like Shawn Michaels, right? When he won the heavyweight title for the first time, right? Like Jim Ross was hyping up the entire program long. Oh, he's been after this thing for 12 years. The only title he's never had. And you're just like, yeah, come on, man, fucking come on, just do it. Yeah. I think the closest thing that we saw to it was Kofi Kingston. Yeah. And they when they built him up, the improbable journey. He wasn't even supposed to be in this spot. That program was great. Yeah. And then like the people just don't make magic anymore. Yeah. And as a result of that, like titles have to change hands to keep things interesting.
Do you think that's a detriment of on the business nowadays? Whether it be in the indies or even in some of the higher up places?
I don't think it's a detriment. I think that fans have too much access. Yeah. So you remember back in the 90s, right? When when Gene Okerlund used to host the hotline, you had to call this 1-900 number.
Yeah. I remember calling it sometimes.
Yeah.
And then getting my ass beat for running up the phone bill.
Yeah, because they leave you on hold for like 30 minutes. Yeah. Run up the charges, right? And then you get like a 10-second phone call with whatever wrestler you wanted to talk to, right? Yeah. Being in the business now, I know that like they could definitely answer the phone because nothing goes on like back there. But but you felt like that was the best 10 seconds of your life. You went to school talking about it. Hey, I talked to Shawn Michaels last night. I talked to, you know what I mean? But it's too much access now. Like now I can go on YouTube or I can go to Twitter and find out exactly what they're thinking at all times because it's right there. So then where's the mystique? Right. Where's the larger than life?
Yeah. How do you think do you think there's the ability to get something like that back? That larger than life mentality, that mystique? The mystique might be gone, but do you think that there's anybody out there that could potentially rise to that larger than life mindset or attitude, essentially?
Oh, for sure. Bray Wyatt does it every time he comes on a TV. Yeah. You notice he's not on like social media. He just chills.
He's on Twitter.
Is he?
Yeah, he's on Twitter, and every once in a blue moon he'll put out a cryptic tweet about something.
Yeah, but see that's it. So like now when the Firefly Funhouse comes on, you're just like, what's he doing? Yeah. I think prior to like all of these allegations and shit, the Velveteen Dream could have done it. Oh yeah. Adam Cole does it. Yeah. Let me see who else. I think which college is starting to do it. Brody Lee is beginning to like get there.
Yeah. You know who I like. I really like. And there, I tell people there's only a handful of people that I actually like try to follow what they're doing. I don't get to do it all the time because I've got so many irons in the fire. But Bray was one of them. Velveteen Dream was one of them, and Dalton Castle.
His name came out on some stuff too.
Yeah, but
you're right. Character-wise,
those guys, those are the three guys that I followed a lot because like it made me want to watch wrestling, what they were doing.
Imagine it.
Yeah, that's what me like. I want to be able to suspend that disbelief. And if you can't catch me with that, then I'm probably not going to follow, or, I'm not going to follow your journey as much.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys aren't like unbelievable, right? Like Adam Cole's like the arrogant guy who legit thinks he has a god complex.
Yeah.
Right? The Bray Wyatt, like the Fiend, like versus like Mr. Rogers, right? It's kind of like the here's the devil in me and here's the angel in me. So people, that's relatable.
Yeah.
You got who else do we name? Dalton Castle. Like he doesn't claim to be a peacock. He's just he's just but actually, have you noticed that Dalton Castle and the Velveteen Dream are like almost the same character?
Almost like, very similar. Very similar.
But like, they're just eccentric, like, sexually ambiguous, like people. But like that's good.
Yeah.
And then Brody Lee, I mentioned him. Like, I don't think he hasn't made me suspend belief yet, but he's well on the way. And I'm definitely interested to see how this Dark Order thing develops.
Yeah, I kind of fell off with it a little bit just because I don't know, like it was when he started coming out in suits and like, the mocking of, kind of like mocking McMahon with the steak and stuff, and I was just like, like, because the whole rumor, McMahon eats a steak every, at every show, and then they had that. It's an old rumor going, in the business, McMahon's a big steak eater. And when they did that segment with Brody Lee eating steak and he's wearing essentially wearing the McMahon suit. And it's just I was just like, like keep it to the darker side. And like, it just kind of switched up on me a little bit. Maybe I need to just get back into it and give it a little bit of a shot.
I mean, so that's a nod to like the cinematic edge, right? Like, so if you like, you know what I mean? Like all bad guys or villains in the film, they're always either smoking or eating.
Yeah.
Like that, you know what I mean? So like, you may as well take the shot. I mean, why not? Like it's something that you can argue is organic if you want, or, you know what I mean? You can play that like how it works. So like,
right.
Not to mention that Bray Wyatt like takes shots at Vince all the time.
Oh yeah, Bray does it all the time. Bray does all the time. But I don't know. Like it's not so much I didn't like it because it was a shot at Vince, but it was just like, I just thought like I thought it was going to be different. Like I thought him coming in was just going to be different, and then all of those little things, I was just like, okay, this is what it's going to be. Like I understand occasionally doing it, but like. It just seemed like it was almost like one of those running gags. And I was just like, okay, it kind of fell flat with me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to bounce out for a little bit.
Well, I feel like AEW for like a while was like a bunch of running gags, right? Like they opened up the company and then like whatever they're joking about on being the elite, then you see it, play out in the ring on AEW. And I think now they're starting to get away from it and like realize that, hey, we need like a creative team here, and there's somebody that's taking a hold of like the writing, which is good. Like, so like I'll say like the last couple of weeks have been like I've been extremely intrigued, not only because I want them to give me a tryout or something, but they've become like extremely like, interesting. So like a lot of storylines developing like everywhere. So I'll give them until next year. So like completely grow.
Well, that's one thing I always said. Like I don't expect them to be amazingly great at everything, and like if they're going to be able to stand the test of time, because like you can't tell if they're going to be successful. They might be successful right off the bat. Because it's new and it's fresh and it's hip and cool. But if they're going to be successful, that's going to take them several years to. Are they going to be able to maintain, the rating, the draw, the drawing, are they going to be able to maintain stories and ideas and concepts over the long haul? That's where I've always said like there might be things that I might disagree with they do. But overall, as a whole, like I'm rooting for them. But I also realize that it's not going to come overnight, and it's going to take several years down the road if they're going to be, 100% legit, like successful.
Oh no, I definitely agree. I mean, you deal with the growing pains, and your chief, financial investor is a football guy and not a wrestling guy. So I mean, you got like growing pains that you're gonna have to overcome. But I think they're gonna have to. The main thing is just keeping people interested, and for that, they're gonna have to do more in-depth characters.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, because like you can get over on the gimmick, and the Young Bucks can go, but how much they got left in them.
Yeah,
Cody can go, but how much does he have left in him? You know what I mean?
Like I've always been really big on MJF. He was another guy that I follow. I love his work. Amazing heel, great old school style heel. I fucking love it. And one of the I've told this to people a couple of times. I go, one of the biggest detriments that I've seen that they've done so far is to make him be Cody's kind of lackey guy when Cody and Dustin were feuding with each other, and then he was kind of just the side guy. And I'm like, man, MJF could be the biggest heel in the business, and he could be the guy that could be that potential guy. In my opinion, he could be that potential guy that you said who has enough charisma to have that long run as a champion.
Yeah,
I feel like he was one of them, but I can understand Jericho being the champion because Jericho's a big name. I understood how they did that, but then Dean's champion, and then I think Dean and the Dark Order still feuding with each other.
No, it's Dean and Brian Cage now.
Okay, yeah. So, and it was just like, and then it went to Dean. I've never really been big on Dean. I think he's a good worker and everything like that. But it was just one of those. After the Shield, he just kind of fell off, and I don't know, something fell flat with me with Dean. But that's besides the point.
No, I mean, I think it's the whole I'm insane thing, right? Like, the person who did that the best is Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
When he was loose cannon Brian Pillman, like there'll never be another unhinged guy like that.
Yeah.
That guy was I mean, the promo work was there.
Yeah.
Like he was fucking unhinged. And that was amazing.
Yeah, it was one of those things. With it almost seemed like one of the reasons I say that about Dean is it just seemed like it fell flat to me. It seems like he didn't care about anything, like nothing whatsoever. And even now when I'm watching it on AEW, I still get that same. It's almost like a lackadaisical type mindset. He's just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm the crazy guy type thing. I'm the out of control type guy, and it's just like,
Well, he draws a lot of his thing from the Joker.
Yeah.
The kind of I'll do what I want when I want type deal.
Yeah.
But it's, for me, it loses validity because it's why do you care about the championship so much? If you know what I'm saying? Why is that not just a prop to you? You know what I mean?
Right.
Why,
that's
out of all the things in life to care about, you only care about a wrestling championship, but you'll crash a car, you'll you know what I'm saying? There's nothing to tie it to why.
Yeah.
Why he cares. There's no taker's earn, so to speak.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why it falls flat with me a little bit, is because it's the believability factor. It's I don't believe that you're the unhinged guy that you say that you. I don't believe it, so therefore it makes me not even care about it. I think one of that's a big detriment to a lot of guys in the business is the believability. The type of character that you're playing, you have guys that come into the business and you're like, oh, when you first meet guys and you're like, what you do, what's your character, and they're like, oh, I do this, and this, and then you're just like, well, what's your character? And then they can't even tell you what the character is. If I say, hey, Dejuan, who is Second to None? What the fuck is his character? What is Second to None about?
You're asking me?
Yeah. When I say something like that, especially in the business, and I say that to anybody, you have one shot to make that impression on me as a wrestler. When you see Stone Cold, You know what Stone Cold's about immediately. As soon as he opens his mouth, you know exactly what he's about. So I expect that from a wrestler. I want to know exactly what you are about. I want that to be able to translate, kind of like Bray. Like when you see Bray, he doesn't even have to speak a word, but you know what he's about. You immediately know that there's something with that character. Same for MJF or, your Dalton Castles or your Velveteen Dreams. You know exactly, there's that aura of, not mystique, but, like, what the character, like, it's something that draws you to it. So, like, I'm that type of person that I want to believe in you, but if you don't give me nothing to believe in, then how do you expect me to follow you? You see what I mean?
Exactly. But you know who else is like that too that I forgot to add to the list? And this guy, you're probably gonna hate me for saying this. Orange fucking Cassidy.
Oh yeah.
So Orange Cassidy, right? Like it like a lot of people, he caught like a lot of heat from like Cornette and like wrestling purists and everything. Yeah. But I want more of a backstory on him. Like I'm so intrigued as to why this character is the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to know, why doesn't he care about wrestling? Like, why is he so lazy? And why did he choose professional wrestling to get into if he was lazy? Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to know more.
Yeah, but you see what you did there is you found he does it right, and this is where I stray from Cornette and all of those people. Like, he knows the business. Like, the business is you got to make somebody care about you,
right?
So he's making people care about him because they are so intrigued about him. He's leaving that mystique, and you're like, why is he doing that? To the purists, either be like, that's fucking stupid. But if you really look deep into Orange Cassidy, he knows he knows that role, because another thing is he knows his place. He knows that he's not going to be the guy that's, essentially, he's not going to be, the heavyweight champion. He's not going to be. They're really not. I think they would be a detriment to put him into that position. Unless for his character, unless you build him out long.
No, unless you do it like by happenstance, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's like a scramble, like a 6-man scramble, right?
Yeah.
And like he just comes in and he's happened to be standing there with his foot on the guy's chest, and he doesn't even realize that he wins, right? Like that's.
Yeah, I think it's one of those characters, but like one of those instances, it could work. But like as a whole, like I think he realizes he's not going to be. I watched an interview with him, and he said, "Oh man, this is months and months ago." He said something along the lines. He goes, "I know." I'm just paraphrasing. He said something along the lines of, "I know and I understand that the type of gimmick that I'm doing is probably going to be detrimental to long-term stuff, booking wise. I'm not going to get certain opportunities." He goes, but I love what I do. And I know this better. Like, I know what I'm doing in his own personal stuff and in his gimmick better than anybody. And that was just like, I get it. He understands the idea and the whole concept of the business is to get people to care about you. And it's not all about flash. It's not all about, being able to do 1,000 moves or triple backflips or anything like that. It's about getting those people to attach themselves to you because they want to know more about you.
Yeah, and he's done it.
Yeah,
dude, I've seen so much wrestling in my life.
Oh yeah,
like, it's not even funny. But every time Orange Cassidy comes on, I want them to say something about him too. Like, it's not just like, oh, here he is, he wrestles with his hands in his pocket. It's like, why is he like that? Like, what drives this guy?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And the only time he gets pissed is when people knock his sunglasses off. Like, what's special about his sunglasses? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I care.
Yeah.
And that's he did it. He did it. So he definitely goes on the list of larger than life characters.
Yeah. And that's the, and I've had people that, like, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm very like, I'm an old school type guy. I love old school wrestling, but I also understand the ideas and concepts of today, of comedic wrestling. I think everything has a place and everything has a time. Orange Cassidy is not a guy that I would not want to see him on TV every single week. You know what I mean? Almost like a Bray. Like if he came out and maybe cut a promo or just did like one little bitty spot, I'm okay. But I don't think I would want to see him week in and week out. As say like I would want to see a guy like Shawn Michaels or, a Stone Cold type thing. He's one of those guys that, like I think the more that he's promoted, essentially the more that you see him on TV. Like I think Bray's the same way. I think the more that you would see him wrestle, the least that would do for it. Like it would hinder his appeal essentially because people are so interested in Bray Wyatt because all he does is talk. So whenever he does have those matches, those occasional matches, people are more interested to watch his matches because normally all he does is talk. So where Orange Cassidy, I think he would be very well to be introduced into like, triple threats and but I wouldn't want to see a straight program with him, like a month-long program or even a weeks-long program with him being out there every single week, because then the appeal to me would be lost a little bit over a long period of time.
Well, I mean, right now he's doing that thing with Jericho. He's been out for like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And like it's been entertaining every time. Like Jericho is like the only person that can get under his skin.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. So like I like that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
So now I want to know like why.
That's also one of those things is like you got to have, if you do something like that, you have to have the right guy to do it with him. Jericho is the perfect guy to have a long program with him over a course of several weeks because Jericho is so good of being able to work with anybody and everybody. But like say if you threw Orange Cassidy in with say Wardlow or even MJF, it'd be a little bit different. MJF might be able to pull it off, but say if you threw him in there with like Cody or Dean or any of the other guys, I don't think it would translate as well for me at least.
Yeah. You lose like a believability factor.
Yeah.
And like it took Jericho like whooping his ass like a bag of oranges.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To like get him that way. So yeah, you're right. But I don't know, man. I feel like that character is like amazing.
Yeah,
like, I used to hate it.
It's a good.
And now, like at Beyond, I used to hate it, and like not because it was ruining the business or anything. I was just kind of like, this is stupid, and I kind of just wrote it off.
Yeah.
But like now, like the more I see it, like I'm just like, this is genius.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he's one of those guys that they're doing very well with. Because they've used him sparingly. It's not like he's been on every single show. And then the stuff that they do use him in, it's very precise and essentially like they're not making him go out there and do 60-minute matches and stuff like that. Everything that he does is very, very precise. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like it'd be different if if you put him in the in the realm of like a Shawn Michaels, you get him out there talking every single week, doing matches every single week, just doing long ass matches. And I think it would his appeal would be gone a little bit because you got to think people nowadays, they have the attention span of a gnat, and eventually that the cuteness of the pockets and, the lackadaisical stuff, that's eventually, it'd eventually wear on somebody. Like it'd be like, okay, guy, get your fucking hands out your pockets. Because that's just where my mindset goes, is because if you look at the wrestling fans nowadays, like, everybody was hot on, like, we'll go back to where Kofi was. Everybody was fucking hot on that shit whenever he was on the come up. But almost immediately after he won, I'd say I maybe about a month and a half gone. Everybody didn't care no more. Yeah. And it's not because he didn't work the same and he didn't put the same effort and energy in. It's just that people didn't care.
Well, that was booking too, though.
Yeah, booking.
Right? Like, because I mean, if you remember, right after he won, like they put him right back with the New Day, and it was almost like he didn't have like a lot of solo matches. Like if you so like that was booking too. But had he made a heel turn on the New Day, perhaps.
Yeah. It could have been different, maybe.
Or if the New Day would have turned on him.
Yeah.
That I would have been interested to see that.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? Like if because like it or not, creative and who's doing the writing has a lot to do with the success of the athlete. Like I don't think there's no question there that Kofi can work his ass off. Like Kofi is phenomenal. But you know, if I just won and came off this monumental win, and the first thing that you do is like my first match after winning the heavyweight championship is putting me in a tag match. Like nobody cares that I'm the heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe that was a bad analogy.
Well, like let's use like for instance, let's use Braun Strowman.
Yeah,
here's a good analogy. Everyone wanted to see Braun get this belt for so long because they knew he was going to destroy shit. This man comes and he flips trucks and all this other kind of stuff, and now he's the champion, and hardly anyone cares.
Yeah.
Well, he is still he's not the Universal.
He's a WWE champion.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah,
and nobody cares.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, but they built it up for like months.
Yeah. Me personally, I never wanted to see him as champion,
dude. Like,
it's not that I don't. I love Braun, but I just don't see it. I didn't want to see him in that line yet.
My personal beef with like monsters like Braun, Kane, and those kind of characters, like those big monsters. My beef with that is that like nobody ever thinks about how to get the belt off of them in a way that still keeps them strong.
Yeah, I've lost it. Like my appeal on Braun lost whenever like he started doing like kind of like the hokey stuff, you know, where when there's a couple times where he was like singing and dancing type stuff, and I was just like, you know, like okay, you know.
But like same with the Big Show, man. Big Show, he could have ran with that weapon of mass destruction right hand for as long as they wanted him to. But then, you know, they embarrass him, talk about his financial issues out there.
Yeah.
Like, how do you, there's no, they let Rey Mysterio like go over on him. Like, how do you can't, like, once you do that, there's no coming back.
Yeah.
So it's like I would always have them in a position of chasing a championship.
Yeah.
And like actually, here I'm gonna compliment WCW. Are you ready for this? When they ended the streak of Goldberg, it took a fucking a cattle prod to do it. You know, because like, you know what I mean. So like, but after that, you know, everyone was kicking his ass. But like, it's like you got to keep the people like who they are. You know.
Yeah. I think that goes back to knowing. I mean, granted, it does have a lot to do with booking, but like, I think there's ways for people to still do them and be you know, be the character and still be even on the bad side of booking. Like, you can still make yourself believable to me. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
for sure.
And I think there's a lot of people taking the, you know, like if somebody falls flat, like Dean for me, for instance, you know, like a lot of people in the hell, even his opinion is just like, I didn't like the booking, so I didn't fucking care. And it was just like, well, you know, okay, like I can understand that as a bad, you know, you didn't like the stuff, but like, you know, like if you're telling me that you're not caring, that's translating into your work, and it's going to be detrimental to me as a fan.
Yeah.
You know,
and ultimately detrimental to the profit of the company.
Yeah,
because I'm spending money here, dude.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things. It's like I chalk it up. Some of the cases I do chalk it up to booking and stuff like that, and you know, just doing dumb stuff. But overall, like the mentality of the worker needs to be there too. Like if you feel like you're being slighted, and I've told this to hundreds of people, like if you feel like you're being slighted or something's not, you know, vibing with you, you need to go. Whether it's going to hurt you or not, you need to be like, hey, like, you know, I don't know, like, you know, I've always been very vocal about shit with me. Like, I had an instance, a booker. I worked for a company, and I worked for his company, and then I worked for the company that was right across the river, so they had the same fan base. This booker, I was heel on one side of the river, and he wanted to. I was in the light heavyweight division, and I was borderline, in the title contentions over on one side of the river. And then this other show, I came to work, or I came to the show one night, and he goes, we're going to change up your gimmick a little bit, instead of still keep the gimmick that you're doing, the kind of like it was essentially kind of like a Bray Wyatt before Bray Wyatt was Bray Wyatt gimmick. The current form of Bray Wyatt, it was kind of a gimmick like that. And he goes, we're going to change that up a little bit. You can still be that, but we want you to be a baby face and more of a Santino type character.
Oh yeah, no.
And I go right across the river, like I'm one of the top heels. I wasn't the top heel, but I was one of the top heels, and I'm in the title contentions. I was like, and we have the same fan bases here. I go, you're gonna do me bad over there, and you're gonna essentially make me a joke over there, just for your benefit over here. I go, that's gonna hurt me overall. That's gonna hurt my business. It might be good for your business, but it's gonna hurt my business. And I told the guy, I realize that you've been in the business for 40 plus years, and the guy, it was he'd been in the business for 40 years, and then the other guy, hell, they probably had 85 total years in the business between the two of them. I was like, and I told him, I think with this amount, for as long as you guys have been in the business and the knowledge that you have in the business, you would think that you guys would understand that. I'll do it right now. I'll do it for this show. But if this is the road that you want me to go down with this character, I don't think I can work here, because it's going to be detrimental to my business overall.
Yeah.
And I think if more guys, I understand it's a little bit harder to do it in companies like, WWE and maybe some of the other ones. But I think, because you have contracts and shit like that, I understand. But I think if more of the boys or the women took it into that mindset of being like, I don't know. I don't think my character would do that. Jericho talks about it a lot. Jericho's just like, nah. If Jericho had a problem with something that he did, and he would go to Vince, he'd be like, okay, look, I don't like this. We're going to do it. And sometimes he would do it. Sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he made it work. Sometimes he didn't. But the overall thing with him is he always went out there and did it to the fullest that he could do it. I don't think a lot of guys do that nowadays. You know what I mean? Like
lack of effort, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want success handed to them, and they put it on. They put their lack of effort on the booker or on the promoter, saying, "Oh man, if you'd have booked me like this, or if you would let me win some matches, then no, it's bullshit, dude. Like you don't have to go over to get over."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then once you get over, how do you stay over?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that you can say about Jericho and even Cody now.
Yeah.
Like, they constantly reinvent themselves to stay fresh. Like, dude, Jericho's had like 5 or 6 different characters. I think AEW even made fun of Matt Hardy on their pay-per-view for like having so many characters. They just brought them all back. And it was great. Like,
yeah. I think that's another thing that guys need to learn how to do is being able to reinvent themselves, but still and have faith within themselves that they can do that they can do it. Like if say I was a booker and I was booking you for a show, and I was like, second to none, I want you to go out and do something real corny. You know what I mean? Like something really off the wall, corny thing that you would normally not do. I can't even think of something right off the top of my head. Wear a fucking wig or some shit like this, something stupid.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, you know what? I don't like it, but I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna rock that motherfucking wig, and I'm gonna show you that I can do it. But I just want you to know that I'm not feeling it. Maybe we can try to work this here, type thing. Instead of me being second to none with the wig, maybe make me be second to none doing this. See if this will work. Always be willing to throw out a different idea, because you never know what the fucking booker is going to be. The booker's gonna like. Like I'll give you an example. I worked in Tennessee. One of my first times in Tennessee, the booker. It was my first time there. First time at this company. Never worked there before, and I didn't actually have a spot on the show. I just rode down with a guy. He's like, I might be able to get you on. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll go with you. So I went down on the show 4 hours away with not even the, possibility of getting booked. But the guy, he brought me down there and he talked to the booker to help me get booked. And the booker goes, we're standing there talking, and the booker goes, well, we'll fit you in this match right here. We'll make it a triple threat match. And he goes, we got a top heel and a top baby face here. He goes, why don't you just go be the tweener? And I was like, damn. In my head, I was like, damn. Because essentially to me, what that was saying is it's like, okay, essentially just throwing me away, like just go out there and be a filler, essentially be the guy that gets thrown around and doesn't do anything of importance or anything like that.
Right. Did you look at it like that though?
In my head, I was just like, in my head, being the tweener is an almost automatic non-starter. It's just like, essentially a tweener to me is like a throwaway guy. I don't think I think wrestling is heel or face. There's no, obviously you have your anti-heroes, like your Stone Colds and stuff like that, but there's actually different elements to it. If you're just going out there to be the middle guy in a match with a top baby face and a top heel, in my head at that moment in time, I had it in my head that they were setting me up for the failure. Because they've already had two very established guys, and they were just throwing me in this match to throw me in the match to do a service to the guy that brought me down. So that's the way I took it. It might not have been like that, but that's the way that I took it. So what I ended up doing is I played along with it, and then as soon as I walked out and I started to walk down I started to walk down the ramp that they had, I was just like, you know what, Jaysin, you're going to have to make, if you want to be back in this company again, like you're going to have to make a stand. You're essentially going to have to make the people care about you. So right. I just went, I took it upon myself. Maybe it wasn't the proper business to do, but what I did is I made the people remember me. And that was my ultimate goal, was to get the people to remember me, because then the booker, after the match was over, he was like, hey man, I really liked what you did. You played up everything good. You worked well. But at that same time, like I didn't do exactly what he wanted me to do. I didn't play the tweener role, like, the kind of heel, kind of babyface guy. I just played a straight out heel. So it was two heels versus the top babyface. And overall, it did good business for that match because the babyface ended up going over, so it made the babyface look good.
Gotcha.
It made me and the bad guy at the same time look like pieces of shit bad guys.
Oh, because you're bullying the baby.
Yeah, we're bullying the baby. So, yeah. And while me and the other heel had, beefs and tiffs with each other because, no, I want to be the guy to pin. No, I want to be the guy to pin type stuff. It did good business overall, while at the same time, I didn't do the business that the booker wanted me to. But in the grand scheme of everything, it worked out well.
So what ended up happening? Did you get called back?
Yeah, I got called back, and at that point in time, I ended up going back. I think me and the guy that I would go down there with, we ended up going to Tennessee every Friday for maybe like 6 or 8 months straight, and we formed a little clique. We called, I think it was, what was it, a little clique? It was the St. Louis Cartel.
Oh, nice.
Because we were from St. Louis and we were coming down to Tennessee, and we had, kind of like the mindset of, we're better than you type gimmick, because we're from St. Louis and we're better than you podunk yokels from Tennessee type thing. Gotcha. So,
perfect sense.
And I eventually ended up getting jumped out of the group. And the funny thing is with that is, I think, this is me kind of putting myself over, I made enough impression on the locals as being, nasty, that even when those guys jumped me out of the group, they booed those guys for jumping me out. Like they still booed me. They cheered them for jumping me out. I got that wrong. Like they cheered those guys for beating the shit out of me.
Nice. Even though they were still heels.
And they still got, like, even the next week, they still got, their typical heel heat. But for that one instance, they still, like, they got cheered for beating the shit out of me. And it was one of those things. I was like, overall, in the grand scheme of it, the business was better off for that particular moment that I did that. It was better in the grand scheme of it. And I think more guys need to be very mindful of the situation, but also be willing to take those risks, because, I could have done that and the guy goes, well, you didn't do what I fucking wanted. So, fuck you, don't come back.
Yeah. I mean,
it's one of those catch-22s that you got to put yourself in. But, I think if more guys had that mindset of wanting to do good for the business and for the business at hand, and in particular for that match, I think more people would be better off, and you'd see more people rise too.
I mean, but you definitely better know what you're doing.
Yeah. You definitely got to know what you're doing.
Yeah. If you're going into business for yourself, you better know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say do it all the time, but like, because then you get labeled as, a bad guy to do business with type stuff and everything like that. Cannon. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's one of those things that's, like, I know what I was capable of, and I knew what I felt like I knew what was going to be best in the long run, and ended up being I was right, and that was okay. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. It is what it is,
Hey, all's well that ends okay.
Yeah. But hey, man, we've been going for quite some time, man. And I think, to leave some room to do some more shows and have you back on, I think it would be a good place to end this thing. So something that I do at the end of every show is, no matter what you're in, no matter if you're in wrestling, you said you do poetry and stuff like that, give the people that are listening to this podcast, this long podcast, but at that, give some people a little bit of inspiration. I don't like to say motivation. I like to say inspiration, because only a person can motivate themselves to do it, but give them inspiration to, essentially give them the inspiration in Dejuan's, Mr. Second to None's mindset of betterment, if that makes sense.
All right. So listen, here's the thing. On all my social media, you'll see me hashtag LFG, which means let's fucking go, right? Like no matter what, or let's freaking go if you got kids, right?
Yeah.
But I encourage everyone to find something that sets their soul on fire. Find something that sets your soul on fire, and it feels like magic to you. Go after that thing with everything that you are. Mm-hmm. And success is inevitable. Wake up in the morning. Hold yourself accountable. Let's fucking go.
Let's go. You heard it, guys. You heard it from Mr. Second to None himself. Let's fucking go. And I will also add, like I always say, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I thank you guys for stopping by one more time. But what you guys need to do is, every morning that you wake up, 10 toes down. And if you're one of those people that don't have 10 toes, just do it 5, maybe 7. I don't know. Do you? Or if you're on a set of wheels, you're paraplegic or whatever, put those wheels down on the ground, put your fist up in the air, and be ready to box that day, because life is going to come at you no matter what you're in. Whether you want to be a pro wrestler, a musician, podcaster, YouTuber, whatever the fuck you want to do in your life, you got to go out and fight for it, because ain't nobody going to hand you shit. You got to go out and fight for what you want in your life. But other than that, you guys, I appreciate you guys, and I love you guys, and I thank you guys for stopping by one more time. Until next time, see you later, bitches.